Chapter 1660 Penghua's Invitation. 1660 Penghua's Invitation. Real god Penghua was a top expert who was suspected to have fighting capabilities equivalent to experts in the real god ranking list. Not only were his abilities strong, his relations with other people and his popularity were also not too bad. Moreover, he also treated other people in a friendly way and was easy to approach. On top of that, he had never taken the initiative to provoke other people. Ever since he had become famous, after so many years, there was only news of other people making trouble for him, and news of him taking the initiative to make trouble for others was unheard of. Read more chapter on novel full. Moreover, there was one more point, and it was real god Penghua not having much ambition. He was even unconcerned as to whether he would be able to become an almighty. What he wanted was simply to live freely and comfortably. Take the 8 layers as an example. With his abilities, he could absolutely travel in the 7th layer. However, he had always stayed in the 8th layer. As he was an expert with strong abilities and a good reputation, Jian Wushuang respected him. "Little friend, are you the one who killed the 3-horned star demon behind you?" Real god Penghua asked. "That's right," Jian Wushuang nodded his head. "It was done by you alone?" Real god Penghua questioned closely. Jian Wushuang nodded his head again. "Haha, that's great," real god Penghua laughed loudly, and he looked at Jian Wushuang after that. "Little friend, I wish for you to help me with a matter. May I know if you are willing to do so?" "What does real god Penghua want me to do?" Jian Wushuang questioned. "Please follow me. When we reach the place, you will know," real god Penghua said. Jian Wushuang did not hesitate, and he followed real god Penghua to a faraway void immediately. For real god Penghua, Jian Wushuang only remained vigilant in the deepest part of his mind. Apart from that, he did not need to take too much precaution. After all, real god Penghua had a good reputation. Moreover, even if real god Penghua were to really have other motives, Jian Wushuang would not be afraid. Under real god Penghua's guidance, Jian Wushuang came to a black void after a short while. "Little friend, look over there, in that direction." Real god Penghua was pointing in a direction. Jian Wushuang spread his soul power at once. After taking a look, his eyes shrank fiercely. Within the detection range of his soul power, he detected the existence of 2 star demons. The 2 star demons were grade 3 star demons, and they were together. Moreover, Jian Wushuang had realized that the 2 3-horned star demons within the detection range of his soul power were not the normal black star demons. Instead, they were green star demons. They were 2 3-horned green star demons. Furthermore, a portion of the skin of one of them was blood red in color. It was obvious that that 3-horned green star demon had already begun to transform into a crimson star demon. A normal 3-horned green star demon possesses the fighting capabilities of a top chaotic real god. As for the other star demon with a portion of its skin in a blood red color, it is probably stronger than a top chaotic real god, and it is extremely close to experts of the real god ranking list. For these 2 kinds of star demons to be together, Jian Wushuang clicked his tongue in admiration. Previously, he had killed grade 3 star demons as well. Moreover, he had killed a total of 2 of them. However, the grade 3 star demons that he killed were both normal black star demons, which were equivalent to normal chaotic real gods of the human beings, and they were completely incomparable to the 2 star demons in front of him. "Real god Penghua, could it be that you want me to team up with you to kill those 2 star demons?" Jian Wushuang questioned. "That's right. That's my plan," real god Penghua laughed. After hearing what was said, Jian Wushuang forced a smile at once. "Real god Penghua, aren't you thinking too highly of me? For those 2 star demons, I am unable to do anything against either of them. Even if I were to team up with you, wouldn't it still be impossible to kill those 2 star demons? Little friend, you need not worry. I have already fought with those 2 star demons just now, and I have a clear understanding of their abilities. If those 2 star demons were to team up, even I would be unable to do anything against them. However, if we were to separate them and deal with them one by one, it would be much easier to handle them. Real God Penghua continued to laugh. Previously, I had been traveling around in this vicinity to find a top chaotic real god who I could team up with, and it just so happened that I saw you. Little friend, I only wish for you to keep the star demon with slightly weaker abilities busy for a period of time so that I can use my full power to deal with the stronger star demon. As long as the stronger star demon is killed, it will naturally be easier to deal with the remaining one. Understood. Jian Wushuang nodded his head. He also knew what real God Penghua wanted, and his eyes turned toward the weaker three-horned green star demon. This three-horned star demon has not begun to transform into a crimson star demon yet. Hence, its abilities should be around a top chaotic real god. With my abilities, it will not be too difficult to keep it busy for a period of time. How about this? When we attack later on, I will keep the weaker three-horned green star demon busy for 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, if you have yet to kill the stronger star demon, I will leave. Ha, no problem. Also, I will not need 15 minutes. Within 1/8 of an hour, I will definitely kill the stronger star demon. Real God Penghua laughed heartily. After that, with a flip of his hands, he took out a black force core. Little friend, I will not let you help me for free. Instead, I will reward you. For the rewards, it will be 2 normal grade 3 demon cores, and I will give you one of them first. As for the remaining grade 3 demon core, I will give it to you after this matter is settled. Real God Penghua tossed the black force core in his hands to Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang extended his hand to receive it. When he used his soul power to check it, his eyes glowed brilliantly at once. Real God Penghua was really generous. He only needed Jian Wushuang to keep the weaker green star demon busy for a period of time, and he would give Jian Wushuang 2 normal grade 3 demon cores as a reward. It should be known that during the many years that Jian Wushuang had been in the 8th lair, he had only obtained a total of 2 grade 3 demon cores. Moreover, he had also used quite a bit of effort to obtain them. However, this time around, he would obtain them easily. Let's get started, Real God Penghua said. Alright, Jian Wushuang nodded his head. Their bodies then changed into 2 rays of flittering light and headed toward the positions of the 2 star demons at once. When they were about to get close to the 2 star demons, the 2 three-horned green star demons reacted instantly. Human cultivators. Kill them. A great amount of destructive aura burst forth from the bodies of the 2 star demons instantly. The bodies of the 2 star demons then changed into green shadows and headed over with lightning speed. Little friend, I will leave the weaker star demon to you. Real God Penghua glanced at Jian Wushuang. No problem, Jian Wushuang nodded his head. When his body turned vague, thousands upon thousands of shadows appeared at the same time straight away. The great number of shadows then whizzed past the area and covered the weaker three-horned green star demon completely. Oh. His comprehension of the space-time doctrine is not too bad. Real God Penghua looked at Jian Wushuang with surprise. After that, his eyes turned grave. Rumble. A great amount of flames which could cover the sky appeared and changed into a giant sea of fire instantly. The sea of fire which was burning madly then came from all directions and formed a giant flame prison. Chapter 1661, Friendly. Chapter 1661, Friendly. What great power! Jian Wushuang was looking at the flame prison with admiration, and he could feel the great amount of power that it contained. At that moment, Real God Penghua and the slightly stronger three-horned green star demon were both within the flame prison. As for Jian Wushuang, he only needed to keep the star demon in front of him busy. Swish! A green shadow attacked with lightning speed. The void was ripped open and generated ear-piercing explosive sounds. Jian Wushuang also swung the Blood Mountain sword, which was emitting sword essence, at once. Clang! With a loud sound, the unreasonable power created an impact, and Jian Wushuang could not help but retreat a few steps back. What great power! Jian Wushuang exclaimed in admiration. three-horned green star demons could compete against top chaotic real gods, and that was Jian Wushuang's current level of ability. If I were to come across you alone, I really would want to have a good fight with you. However, it's a pity that I have been invited by someone else to help this time round. Also, my duty is not to kill you. Instead, it is to keep you busy, Jian Wushuang chuckled. His body then turned vague and many shadows appeared again. With that, his shadows started to move around the three-horned green star demon. Jian Wushuang's martial art motion was strange, and he had been using both his martial art motion and speed to keep the three-horned green star demon busy. He did not hope to kill the three-horned green star demon in front of him. Instead, he wanted to keep it busy so that it could not do anything else. The three-horned green star demon became furious. Although it unleashed some peculiar moves with the intention to kill Jian Wushuang, all its moves were stopped by Jian Wushuang. As it was neither able to kill Jian Wushuang nor shake him off, it could only be kept busy by Jian Wushuang. This intense battle continued, with both sides refusing to budge. As Jian Wushuang kept the three-horned green star demon busy, he also took note of the time. Previously, he had only promised to keep the three-horned green star demon busy for 15 minutes. If real god Penghua had yet to defeat his opponent when the time was up, Jian Wushuang would leave. It's about to be 15 minutes soon, Jian Wushuang murmured. However, as he mentioned the timing, boom. A muffled sound could be heard from the flame prison. At that moment, the whole universe shook slightly. After that, the flame prison dissipated slowly and revealed the void inside it. Within the dark void, the slightly stronger three-horned star demon, which had had red skin on a part of its body, had disappeared, and only real god Penghua remained standing inside. At the same time, his hands were holding a demon core. The demon core was a mix of both green and red colors. Of course, the green color took up more space of the demon core than the red color. It is just as real god Penghua has said. He did not even take 15 minutes, Jian Wushuang gasped. At that moment, real god Penghua, who was within the void, had already changed into a lump of flames and headed for the battlefield that Jian Wushuang was in. Little friend, please retreat to one side, real god Penghua's voice could be heard in the piece of universe. Jian Wushuang did not hesitate. By moving his body, he retreated to a void nearby. After that, he saw that real god Penghua had started fighting. With a wave of his big hands, a huge amount of flames appeared and dyed the heavens red. At the center of the universe, a shocking giant flame beast appeared. The flame beast was more than 10,000 feet tall, and it was formed from a tremendous amount of divine power. At the moment it was formed, it opened its huge mouth and swallowed the living three-horned green star demon, as well as everything else in that piece of void. Rumble sounds of power exploding could be heard faintly. In a split second, the gigantic flame beast dissipated. As for the three-horned green star demon, it had disappeared completely. It's dead. It was killed in just an instant. Jian Wushuang's eyes were glowing with an unusual light. Although the three-horned green star demon which he had fought with was incomparable to the one that real god Penghua had killed in the flame prison previously, it still possessed the genuine fighting capabilities of a top chaotic real god. However, in the end, when it fought with real god Penghua, it was killed straight away without even having a chance to struggle. There has been doubts about real god Penghua possessing fighting capabilities that can be compared to the experts in the real god ranking list. However, from what I can see, such doubts can be dispelled as he indeed possesses fighting capabilities that can get him into the ranking god ranking list, Jian Wushuang murmured. Real god Penghua, who was standing in the void, waved his hands and a green core floated over slowly from the flames. Green core, Jian Wushuang's eyes squinted slightly. The Grade 3 demon cores were split into 3 different colors. Among the Grade 3 demon cores that Jian Wushuang had obtained, all of them were the normal black cores. As for green cores, they were worth many times more than black cores. A Grade 3 green demon core could be compared to about 6 or 7 normal Grade 3 black demon cores. As such, real god Penghua was very generous and he rewarded Jian Wushuang with 2 grade 3 black demon cores. Ha! Real god Penghua laughed heartily and walked toward Jian Wushuang. Little kid, thank you for helping me this time round. This is the remaining grade 3 demon core. Real god Penghua gave Jian Wushuang a demon core. After receiving the demon core, Jian Wushuang laughed. Actually, I did not really help much. What he had said was true. The 2 grade 3 green star demons were killed due to real god Penghua's absolute abilities. As for Jian Wushuang, his task was extremely easy. Little friend, you are too modest. If you were not there, I would have been unable to kill the 2 star demons. Real god Penghua was still laughing. In short, thank you very much for helping me in this matter. This is my transmission token. If you come across any trouble in the future, you can contact me. If I am able to help, I will definitely do my best to help you. Jian Wushuang took the transmission token subconsciously. I shall take my leave now. Real god Penghua laughed and left after that. Only Jian Wushuang remained standing at his position and he had an extremely puzzled expression. However, after a short while, he became relaxed. When real god Penghua invited me to help him, it was indeed for the 2 grade 3 green star demons initially. However, for such an easy job, it was more than enough for him to give me a grade 3 black demon core. However, he gave me 2 of them and even gave me his transmission token. On top of that, he also said that I could find him if I were to come across any trouble in the future. He is being friendly toward me. Jian Wushuang laughed. Jian Wushuang had lived for tens of thousands of years. Hence, he knew the ways of the world. For example, real god Penghua's actions were obviously him being friendly to Jian Wushuang as he wanted to make friends with Jian Wushuang. After all, anyone would be willing to make friends with a genius like Jian Wushuang who had great potential. Moreover, Jian Wushuang was also a person who valued friendships highly. Back then in the Burning Demon region, Jian Wushuang had clashed with the 4-symbol mansion head-on for his good friend Duan Lingfeng. Since he was such a person, it was worth it to make friends with him. Chapter 1662, Targeted. Chapter 1662, Targeted. It is my pleasure to be able to make friends with an expert like you, real god Penghua. As Jian Wushuang laughed, he put real god Penghua's transmission token into his Qian Kun ring. After that, he moved his body and continued to hunt for star demons in his vicinity. Time passed by. In a flash, another 20 years had passed. Inside a cave that had been opened as a temporary place in the core region, Jian Wushuang was sitting down with his legs crossed and demon cores were floating in front of him. At the same time, a great amount of pure power was flowing into his body continuously. As Jian Wushuang absorbed the pure power from the demon cores, the ultimate divine power within his body continued to increase and another ultimate divine power water droplet was formed. I have 5 droplets of ultimate divine power now. Jian Wushuang opened his eyes fiercely and his eyes were glowing brilliantly. For the past few years, he had been traveling in the core region and he had also managed to kill many star demons. As such, he had naturally obtained a great number of demon cores. As for the pure power within the demon cores that he had obtained, it had all been absorbed by him over the past few years when he had secluded himself in the cave. Thus, the number of ultimate divine power water droplets in his body had increased from 3 water droplets to 5 water droplets. The 2 additional droplets of ultimate divine power could not be treated lightly. Jian Wushuang was certain that if he were to rely on his own abilities to train and accumulate the 2 additional droplets of ultimate divine power, he would need tens of thousands of years, or even hundreds of thousands of years, to form them. However, in the core region of the 8th layer, he had only used 20 years' time. To any random real god, 20 years of time was just a very short period of time. If he were to hurry to his intended location or go to a random place, he would easily use more than 20 years of time. However, in such a short 20 years of time, Jian Wushuang's abilities had risen greatly. 5 droplets of ultimate divine power. He was getting closer and closer to making a breakthrough to stage 2 ultimate real god. Jian Wushuang was in a state of happiness. However, at that very moment, a message was sent to him abruptly. Little friend Jian Wushuang, are you still traveling in the core region? The person who sent the message over was real god Penghua. Yes, I'm still there. Does real god Penghua have something for me? Jian Wushuang replied with a laugh. I do not have anything for you and I'm just asking randomly. Also, let me ask you another question. Is there a grudge between you and the Soaring Heaven King Palace? Real god Penghua said. The Soaring Heaven King Palace? Jian Wushuang's expression turned grave. Yes, there's a grudge between us. What's wrong? No wonder, real god Penghua laughed. Little friend, let me tell you the truth. Just a moment ago, an expert of the Soaring Heaven King Palace contacted me and asked me if I have seen you in the 8th lair. Oh. Jian Wushuang's eyes squinted. How did you answer him? Of course, I said that I have not seen you. Moreover, the expert from the Soaring Heaven King Palace also told me to inform him if I were to see you in the future. In addition, he told me not to bring this matter up in front of anyone else. At that time, I felt that something was wrong and hence, I agreed to his request on the surface. After that, I contacted you straight away to ask you about it. As expected, there is indeed a grudge between you and the Soaring Heaven King Palace, real god Penghua said. Seems like the Soaring Heaven King Palace has their eyes on me. Jian Wushuang's expression turned icy cold. Little friend, although I have never had any dealings with the Soaring Heaven King Palace before, I know something about them. Their ways of doing things have always been unreasonable. If anyone in the 10 sanctuaries were to provoke them, they would definitely get the other party to pay a heavy price for it. Now, since the Soaring Heaven King Palace has their eyes on you, nothing good will come of it, real god Penghua said. I know. Thank you very much for telling me about this matter. If not, the lineage of Star who is supporting me would still be clueless about this, Jian Wushuang said thankfully. He knew that although the Soaring Heaven King Palace was searching for him, their method of searching was very secretive. They probably did not want to alert him and it was to the extent that even the lineage of Star did not know about it. If not for Jian Wushuang making friends with real god Penghua by coincidence, he would still be clueless at that very moment. Little friend is too modest. The only thing is that this is not a small matter and you had better deal with it carefully, real god Chihua said. Alright, Jian Wushuang nodded his head seriously. How about this? Real god Penghua, I will talk to Hall Master Yuan first and I will look for you again later. Alright, real god Penghua said sincerely. Jian Shuang took out Hall Master Yuan's transmission token at once. Hall Master Yuan, do you know if the Soaring Heaven King Palace has sent experts to the 8th lair during this period of time? Jian Wushuang questioned. They did not send anyone, Hall Master Yuan said confidently. I have already gotten people to observe the Soaring Heaven King Palace. Therefore, I can confirm that the Soaring Heaven King Palace has not sent any experts to the 8th lair during this period of time. Not even eternal real gods were sent. What about exceptionally strong experts coming to the 8th lair during this period of time? Jian Wushuang continued to ask. Thinking about it, if the Soaring Heaven King Palace really wanted to kill him, they could hire other experts to take care of him. Moreover, the experts who they had hired would be experts who traveled alone. The 8th lair is ranked the last among the 8 lairs. Hence, among the experts who travel there are not many exceptionally strong ones to begin with. Real god Penghua's way of doing things is strange and he can be considered a special case. Apart from that, no unreasonably strong chaotic real gods will go to the 8th lair. Over the past few years, there are only 3 chaotic real gods who have gone into the 8th lair. Moreover, their abilities are normal and none of them is a top chaotic real god, Hall Master Yuan said. There isn't anyone. Jian Wushuang's eyes turned cold. Jian Wushuang, why are you asking about this so suddenly? Hall Master Yuan asked. You will know after a short period of time, Jian Wushuang kept Hall Master Yuan in suspense. Hall Master Yuan did not ask too much either. Inside the cave, Jian Wushuang was muttering to himself, since the Soaring Heaven King Palace is searching for me, they naturally want to take care of me. However, since they did not send any experts to the 8th lair, this means that they only want to rely on their own experts who are in the 8th lair to kill me. The thought that the Soaring Heaven King Palace would get some of their experts who were traveling in the 8th lair to kill him had also crossed his mind before. However, there were not many experts traveling in the 8th lair to begin with. Next, the 8th lair was so huge. Hence, it would not be easy to come across a human cultivator, even on ordinary days. Even if they were to come across a human cultivator, it would be difficult to find one who possessed sufficient abilities and was also willing to take action for the Soaring Heaven King Palace. Thus, the possibility of the Soaring Heaven King Palace hiring experts who were traveling in the 8th lair was very low. As such, they could only get their own experts, who were already traveling in the 8th lair, to take action. There is a total of 4 experts from the Soaring Heaven King Palace traveling in the 8th lair. Among them, there is an eternal real god, 2 normal chaotic real gods as well as a top chaotic real god. The eternal real god and the 2 normal chaotic real gods will not pose a threat to me. Therefore, it is only possible for real god Ziyi, the top chaotic real god, to kill me. While thinking about that, Jian Wushuang grinned. After that, he took out real god Penghua's transmission token again. Real god Penghua, I have a matter that I would like your help with. Chapter 1663, Zi Ye's Arrival. Chapter 1663, Zi Ye's Arrival. The black universe was filled with nothingness. The chubby old man real god Penghua, who was like a small mountain, was standing on a mountain and he was waiting quietly. After a short while, a shadow appeared in his line of vision. The approaching person wore purple armor and battle boots. In addition, his head also wore a battle helmet. He also looked handsome and he looked just a purple war god. Real god Penghua, real god Zi Ye's face revealed a modest expression. Although he was a top chaotic real god, he was still inferior to real god Penghua. Ziyi, why is the Soaring Heaven King Palace looking for Jian Wushuang? Real god Penghua asked. We naturally have something for him. However, it's not convenient for me to tell you the details, real god Ziyi laughed. Real god Penghua raised his eyebrows and said disapprovingly, forget it if you do not wish to tell me. I saw Jian Wushuang previously. He is in that direction. Real god Penghua pointed in a direction, continue going straight from there. He's nearby a piece of void that is millions of miles away. However, that is where I saw him 10 days ago. As for whether he is still in that region, I have no idea. Thank you very much, real god Penghua. After thanking him, real god Ziyi hurried in that direction straight away. Real god Penghua was still standing on the mountain and he looked on as real god Ziyi left. It was only after real god Ziyi had moved far away that his face revealed a strange smile. After that, he took out a transmission token. My little friend Jian Wushuang, real god Ziyi has come. Moreover, he's alone. Real god Penghua, thank you very much and I'm sorry for troubling you, Jian Wushuang's voice could be heard from the token. Real god Penghua chuckled and put his token into his Qian Kun ring. The Soaring Heaven King Palace wishes to take care of Jian Wushuang. However, Jian Wushuang also seems to want to take action against the Soaring Heaven King Palace. I really have no idea who is plotting against who. Real god Penghua revealed a thoughtful expression, however, I do not need to care about the crazy fights between the two sides as it does not concern me. It will be alright as long as I do not offend either side. Everyone knew that real god Penghua had an extremely good reputation all around and he had never provoked someone else of his own accord. Instead, it had always been other people who went looking for him. However, in actual fact, this was related to his character. He had no ambitions and only wished to be free and unfettered. In addition, he was not concerned with the fights between the powerhouses of the eternal chaotic world. In spite of that, his relations with other people were good. To put it in good terms, he was a smooth person who had a good sense of propriety. However, to put it in bad terms, he was a genuine old fox. Moreover, such an old fox had been able to live for a long time. Millions of miles away, Jian Wushuang was sitting down on the dark land and waiting quietly. At that moment, he was smiling. As expected. The Soaring Heaven King Palace only sent real God Ziyi alone as they thought that it would be sufficient to kill me. That's right. After all, real God Ziyi is a top chaotic real god and he is very close to the real god ranking list. Even if he were to come across other top chaotic real gods like real god Longqing, he would be able to kill them. Moreover, the abilities that I unleashed back then in the inner layer to kill real god Guing were not stronger than real god Longqing's. As Jian Wushuang laughed, he stood up slowly. Let me go and welcome real god Ziyi. Jian Wushuang moved his feet and he walked forward slowly. Atop the dark void, real god Ziyi, who wore a purple armor and also had a commanding presence, was traveling in accordance to real god Penghua's directions. After a short while, he noticed a shadow which appeared in the range of his own consciousness detection. I have found him. Real god Ziyi's eyes were like an eagle's and he looked toward the front. Atop the dark and barren land, the shadow of a blood-robed young man who was carrying a long sword on his back was moving forward slowly. Although he was taking small steps, every step was filled with strength. Hence, any random step of his would easily cover a distance of hundreds of miles. It was only when the shadow of the young man was less than 10,000 miles away from real god Ziyi that he stopped moving. A cold wind flew by and blew up his blood robe, as well as his hair. At the next moment, the shadow of the young man raised his head and revealed a resolute and young face. The face contained a pair of penetrating eyes which were like a pair of gems, and the shrill light that they were emitting illuminated the dark void. Jian Wushuang, you're really here. Real god Ziyi's voice shook the heavens. After that, his body changed into purple lightning and descended in front of Jian Wushuang. In addition, the ground that he stepped on with his battle boots was smashed into pieces. Jian Wushuang was looking at real god Ziyi who was in front of him. Although he had already prepared himself a long time ago, he was expressionless on the surface. He then said, so it's real god Ziyi of the Soaring Heaven King Palace. Do you have anything for me? Ha! Jian Wushuang, are you really that stupid, or are you simply acting dumb? Real god Ziyi was extremely arrogant. From the looks of it, you are here to take revenge for real god Guing, right? Jian Wushuang giggled. Of course. Not just anyone can kill the Soaring Heaven King Palace's people, real god Ziyi said with a low voice. Back then, real god Guing and real god Xueling had cast their greedy eyes on my grade 3 demon core and they attacked me. As such, I took action and killed him to protect myself. Shouldn't I have done that? Could it be that I should have let him kill me so that he could snatch my treasure away? The Soaring Heaven King Palace's people are too unreasonable, Jian Wushuang shouted while pretending to have a furious look. Since you also know that the Soaring Heaven King Palace is unreasonable, why are you still asking me questions? No matter what reason it is, as long as you kill the Soaring Heaven King Palace's people, you must die. Real god Ziyi was filled with overwhelming murderous intent. Oh. Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows and he laughed sardonically. He then opened up his right hand, which had been closed tightly all the while, and revealed a token. That's a mirroring token. Real god Ziyi's expression changed slightly and he looked at Jian Wushuang. You did that on purpose? You only caught on now. Jian Wushuang sneered and kept the mirroring token which had finished recording into his Qian Kun ring. I am done with the mirroring token. Now, it's time for me to make my move. No matter what you do, you have to die today. Real god Ziyi was filled with murderous intent. With a flip of his palm, a purple saber appeared in his hands. Buzz! Real God Ziyi made his move straight away. Within the vast black void, 4 additional purple moons appeared out of thin air. The 4 purple moons were extremely dazzling and they illuminated the dark void with purple light. As for Jian Wushuang, he could tell clearly that the 4 purple moons were 4 bright rays of saber light. Swish! 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 The 4 purple moons swept past the area and left 4 purple shadows behind on the void. Space and time seemed to have been affected greatly. Swoosh! All of a sudden, the void behind Jian Wushuang tore open and a purple moon appeared. Moreover, the purple moon was aimed at his head. Chapter 1664, Close Combat. Chapter 1664, Close Combat. Including the purple moon that suddenly flew out from the back, there were a total of 5 moons attacking Jian Wushuang simultaneously and they were traveling at an unbelievable speed. That's creepy, Jian Wushuang moved and their myriads of shadows were cast. His real body plunged through the void quickly and fled through the gap between the 5 purple moons. Wow! 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 5 resplendent purple blade lights hit the void and slashed 5 huge cracks in the void. Then, they dispersed. The very next moment, next to real God Ziye's body, another 5 purple moons merged while there was purple electricity flowing in real God Ziye's eyes. Then, he suddenly plunged. Swoosh! Real God Ziye's real body turned into a purple sword light and appeared before Jian Wushuang's real body along with his surrounding 5 purple moons. He instantly determined where my real body is. He lives up to his reputation as the top chaotic real god, Jian Wushuang exclaimed in surprise. Blood Mountain sword in his hand immediately let out a soaring sword intention to kill. Hong. There was divine power soaring in Jian Wushuang body and it clashed against real God Ziyi. The blade light and sword intention crisscrossed one another ferociously. Real God Ziye's blade skill and Jian Wushuang's swordsmanship were given full play and their speed was at their maximum too. Dang! 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 There was a clashing noise. After a short while, the 2 of them had at least collided 100 times. But it was obvious that Jian Wushuang had the lower hand during the fight. Bang! There was a low thud and Jian Wushuang rolled out gracelessly. He rolled continuously for a few 100 miles until he stopped. After regaining stability, there was blood at the corner of Jian Wushuang's lips. As for real God Ziyi, he was in good condition and the aura on his body was growing stronger. Humph, how dare you fight close combat with me? You're really stupid, real God Ziyi looked at Jian Wushuang in disdain as he spoke with a voice that shook the earth. Real God Ziyi was best at close combat. His close combat ability was shockingly strong. In collaboration with his blade skill, he was even scarier. Compared to close body combat, as long as he didn't run into an expert from Real God ranking list, he wasn't afraid. He heard what Real God Ziyi said and Jian Wushuang squinted his eyes but wasn't angry at all. On the contrary, he was excited. Real God Ziyi, you really didn't disappoint me, Jian Wushuang looked at Real God Ziyi with a faint smile. As he spoke, there was a boundless ancient god power that instantly exploded. Vroom vroom. His divine power billowed and Jian Wushuang's body suddenly magnified and turned into a 10 zhang tall dark gold ancient god. In his eyes, there was also a dark gold luster. In between his eyebrows, there were 6 stars hanging upside down. The invincible might was illustrious. Ever since I broke through and became a real god, this is the first time I go all out. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands and felt the boundless power in his palms. Real God Ziyi, you were saying earlier that your close combat ability is very strong, right? Huh? Real God Ziyi creased his eyebrows and he had a bad feeling in the bottom of his heart. Close combat ability? Jian Wushuang sneered as his huge ancient god body immediately started changing. Virum. Huge heads and muscular arms that were substantiated with divine power extended from his body. Suddenly, Jian Wushuang had 4 heads and 8 arms. His 8 muscular arms were each holding a sword. Hence, there was a total of 8 swords, just like a demon. Humph, trying to be deliberately mystifying, real God Ziyi wasn't bothered. In Eternal Chaotic World, there were many secret skills that enable one to grow more arms and heads. So what if there were extra? It would at most increase one's fighting power by a slight bit. To many top experts, 4 and 8 arms were the same. However, he didn't know that Jian Wushuang was actually performing a supreme unique skill of ancient god tribe. The unique skill wasn't as simple as growing extra arms and heads. The most crucial part was that it contained an attack skill. Kill. Real God Ziyi let out a low bellow and his body turned into purple light before he pounded Jian Wushuang again. Jian Wushuang gripped the 8 swords in his hands tightly as the eyes on his foreheads shimmered with dark gold luster. Kill. Similarly, Jian Wushuang charged forward with his huge ancient god body after letting out a roar. The huge feet stepped onto the ground. With every step he took, there would be a huge hole created in the ground. Their distance pulled closer very quickly. The distance of a few hundred miles was instantly leaped. The 2 not proportionate bodies collided. Die. Real God Ziyi had soaring murderous intention. The 5 purple moons around him were giving a resplendent brilliance, along with the purple saber in his hand that was shimmering with a cold gleam. They instantly formed 6 blade lights and swung out in madness. You will die. Jian Wushuang's 4 heads roared simultaneously and the 8 divine swords in his hands formed 8 flowing lights in collaboration with the unique attack method as they flew out. Close combat. Close combat in complete madness. Both of them gave their all. Clang. 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 Bang. Pust. There were continuous clashing noises that rang. With such collisions, there were glints of sparks and fire. Swoosh. Jian Wushuang and real God Ziyi's bodies crisscrossed. Jian Wushuang continued to hold his 8 swords while his 8 eyes were filled with murderous intention. He steadied himself and turned around to look at real God Ziyi. Real God Ziyi then looked extremely shocked. His eyes were staring wide opened as they covered in disbelief. The next moment. Poof! A mouthful of fresh blood was spat from real God Ziyi's mouth and his face instantly turned pale. How could this be? Real God Ziyi muttered. He knew clearly what had happened earlier. Just as a splint of spark and fire exploded, he fought Jian Wushuang closely and exchanged blows like lightning. Their speed and combat skills were given full play. But in the end, in such a short period of time, Jian Wushuang hit him 6 times. In other words, he was slashed by 6 strokes while Jian Wushuang blocked his blade attack entirely. He was defeated. His close combat ability that he had always been proud of had failed and he was defeated. He was completely cornered. If he wasn't wearing a high-level armor and if didn't cultivate his secret skill of defense to a high level, he would have been dead after the 6 strokes. Chapter 1665, Completely Shedding All Pretense of Cordiality. Chapter 1665, Completely Shedding All Pretense of Cordiality. Real God Ziyi, your close-quarters combat abilities are nothing much more than this. Jian Wushuang's voice, which was filled with ridicule, could be heard. Comment. Although real God Ziyi had a ghastly pale expression, he still stared at Jian Wushuang persistently. However, all of a sudden, his expression changed fiercely. This look, an ancient god. The ancient god clan which has been recognized as the #1 in close-quarters battles in the eternal chaotic world. Real God Ziyi finally knew why he had lost so miserably in a close-quarters battle. It was because of the fact that his opponent was actually an ancient god. Damn it! When Palace Master gave me the task to kill him, not only did he not say that Jian Wushuang possessed the ancient god bloodline, he also did not say that Jian Wushuang would be so powerful. Real God Ziyi had a gloomy expression. His close-quarters combat abilities are many times stronger than mine. Moreover, during the clash just now, I was seriously injured and my abilities are affected as a result. If I were to continue fighting with him, it would not be me killing him. Instead, it would be him killing me. Without hesitation, Real God Ziyi made the correct choice right away. Run! Real God Ziyi's body could be seen changing into a ray of purple arc light and flying into the void far away. Ha, why are you in such a rush to leave? Jian Wushuang laughed jokingly. As he looked at the direction that Real God Ziyi was escaping in, he stretched out one of his palms slowly and stuck out a finger. Secret skill. Thunder attracting skill. Buzz. A vast amount of divine power burst forth. All of a sudden, the dark universe shook. After that, the dark sky on top of Real God Ziyi was ripped open. A ray of crimson light appeared from the void which had been ripped open, and it descended abruptly. Rumble. It was a crimson-colored life-destroying sacred thunder, and its thunderbolts were as thick as a water bucket. Moreover, it also had frightening power which could destroy the universe. After the life-destroying sacred thunder descended from the rift, it headed for Real God Ziyi right away. Its speed was extremely fast. Moreover, it was obvious that the life-destroying sacred thunder had already locked onto Real God Ziyi. As such, it was impossible for Real God Ziyi to dodge the attack. This power. Real God Ziyi opened his eyes wide. In addition, he was filled with fear as he had seen the danger of death from the life-destroying sacred thunder. Real God Ziyi did not dare to be careless. His body stopped moving and the purple saber in his hands released purple rays of light that were extremely bright. Rustle the saber light changed into a river and created a giant purple saber shadow on the void instantly. The purple saber light then headed toward the life-destroying sacred thunder fiercely. The two attacks clashed head-on. Bam! With a loud sound, a giant hole opened up on the void and a huge number of space rifts also spread crazily due to the attacks. At the center of the big hole, swoosh! A shooting star, or rather a meteorite, fell toward the ground. The meteorite was still covered with part of the crimson-colored thunderbolt power. When it landed on the ground was smashed into pieces and 10,000 miles of the ground was also charred black by the thunderbolt power. As for Real God Ziyi, he also fell into the ruins created from the attacks and it was unknown whether he was dead or alive. The thunder-attracting skill of the ancient god clan's 3 secret skills is indeed very powerful. As Jian Wushuang looked at what the Crimson Thunderbolt had done, his face revealed an apathetic smile. Although the thunder-attracting skill was considered the weakest among the ancient god clan's 3 secret skills, it was still very powerful, to the point that it was shocking. Thunder-attracting skill. What it attracted was the life-destroying sacred thunder. At that moment, when Jian Wushuang used his full power, he could only attract one life-destroying sacred thunder. However, it was already enough to kill a normal chaotic real god easily. It should be known that when this secret skill was honed to its highest level, it would be able to attract thousands upon thousands of life-destroying sacred thunder at the same time. At that time, how would the scene look? When King Luozhen was at his peak, he was able to attract thousands upon thousands of life-destroying sacred thunder at the same time. Hence, if he were to unleash the secret skill thunder-attracting skill with his full power, even almighties at the level of the Star Palace Master would be extremely terrified. At that moment, swoosh! A purple, glittering light rose from the ruins abruptly and it ran away crazily. He's actually not dead yet. Jian Wushuang frowned. As he looked at Real God Ziyi who was still escaping, he also realized that Real God Ziyi's body was covered with thick blood qi. The Soaring Heaven Blood Law is the Soaring Heaven King Palace's secret skill to save one's life. Since real God Ziyi has unleashed this kind of secret skill, it seems like he is really going all out. Jian Wushuang raised the corners of his mouth and revealed an icy cold smile. Even if you go all out, you will still be unable to escape. Buzz! The divine power in Jian Wushuang's body started to burn. Although the speed of burning was not considered too fast, it would still deplete a great amount of divine power. As for Jian Wushuang, by burning his divine power, he unleashed a speed that was 10 times faster than normal and chased after real God Ziyi. He did not plan to let real God Ziyi go just like that. Originally, I had no grudges against the Soaring Heaven King Palace. However, they have found trouble for me again and again. Jian Wushuang's eyes were filled with a great amount of murderous intent. Previously, in Thunderbolt Island, the monster king of the Soaring Heaven King Palace had given him trouble. After that, in the inner layer of the 8th lair, real God Guing and real God Xueling had teamed up with the intent to kill him and snatch his grade 3 demon core away. Originally, those were selfish motives of the monster king, real God Guing and real God Xueling. Therefore, they were unable to represent the whole Soaring Heaven King Palace. However, at that moment, the Soaring Heaven King Palace had sent real God Ziyi intentionally to kill him. With that, the grudge was created. Jian Wushuang had always been someone who had minded his own business and would not do anything unless someone found trouble for him. Thus, if someone were to find trouble for him, he would pay them back 10 times, or even 100 times more. It was not his style to be attacked by others continuously and not return the favor. Since real God Ziyi had found his way to Jian Wushuang at that moment, Jian Wushuang would have the courage to keep real God Ziyi with him forever. Ziyi, it's impossible for you to escape. Jian Wushuang was filled with an enormous amount of murderous intent. When real God Ziyi, who was already seriously injured and in an extremely tragic state, saw Jian Wushuang chasing him, his expression changed greatly and he shouted furiously, "Jian Wushuang, even though I am already seriously injured, you still refuse to stop. Could it be that you really want to shred all pretenses of cordiality with the Soaring Heaven King Palace completely? Shred all pretenses of cordiality? When the Soaring Heaven King Palace sent you to kill me, all pretenses of cordiality between us were already shed as things did not take a turn for the better. At this point, you still have the nerve to use the Soaring Heaven King Palace to stop me? This is really funny," Jian Wushuang sneered. With the secret skill of dragon blood activated, he could totally catch up with real God Ziyi's speed. Damn it! Real God Ziyi swore. As he escaped madly, he also took out a token hastily. Palace Master, please save me quickly. Jian Wushuang is chasing after me with an intent to kill me. I am already seriously injured and I am unable to unleash my speed completely. Even though I have also used the Soaring Heaven Blood Law, I am still unable to escape from him. Inform the lineage of Star quickly and get them to order Jian Wushuang to stop. Please do it quickly. Real God Ziyi's voice was extremely sad and shrill. Chapter 1666, The Dark Region. Chapter 1666, The Dark Region. Soaring Heaven King Palace. In a lofty palace, many higher-ups of Soaring Heaven King Palace had gathered. Previously, the higher-ups were already informed that real God Ziyi found Jian Wushuang. They were all waiting for the news from real God Ziyi that he killed Jian Wushuang. They had absolute confidence in real God Ziyi. After all, real God Ziyi was the top chaotic real god and he wasn't far from the real god ranking list. On the other hand, although Jian Wushuang had killed real god Guing previously and proved that he wasn't weak, he was a void real god who just broke through, after all. Even if he was an inverse cultivator, even if he was unusual, he would only have the fighting power of a top chaotic real god at most. They believed that with real God Ziyi's power, he could definitely kill Jian Wushuang. The worst-case scenario would be Jian Wushuang fleeing. The higher-ups in Soaring Heaven King Palace thought so. Just then, a man in a gold robe at the top of the palace looked surprised and a smile spread across his face. Ziyi sent a message back. It seems that he has killed Jian Wushuang. Real God Ziyi is taking care of this personally. Of course, success is ensured. Humph, Jian Wushuang is a genius. It's a pity that he was too arrogant. He even dared to kill our people from Soaring Heaven King Palace. He deserved to die. Most of the real gods were chatting casually in the palace. The man in a gold robe skimmed through the message that real god Ziyi had sent. The smile on his face stiffened and he suddenly stood on his feet. Real god Ziyi is being hunted by Jian Wushuang, the man in a gold robe bellowed. What? The real gods in the hall were dumbfounded. Palace master, are you mistaken? It should be real god Ziyi chasing after Jian Wushuang, right? One of the chaotic real god couldn't help but ask. Who would make a mistake? The blonde man's hair blew like a raging lion. He roared, hurry up and tell Lineage of Star to send a message to Jian Wushuang. Tell him to stop immediately. Otherwise, if real god Ziyi were to die, no matter where he runs to, Soaring Heaven King Palace will kill him. Yes, someone answered immediately. Real gods in the hall stared with their eyes wide open. They knew that they didn't hear wrongly, but it was a fact. Real god Ziyi was being chased after by Jian Wushuang. The news spread across Sanctuary Alliance in an instant, like a storm. Of course, the news was sent to Hall Master Yuan in Lineage of Star at the first instant. Hall Master Yuan found it unbelievable as well. Real god Ziyi? He is the top chaotic real god and he is being chased after by Jian Wushuang. Did I hear this correctly? Full of doubt, Hall Master Yuan immediately sent a message to Jian Wushuang to ask about the incident. Very soon, he received an answer. Real god Ziyi was really being chased after. Jian Wushuang, what are you going to do with real god Ziyi? Hall Master Yuan asked. He must die. Jian Wushuang's replied in short. If so, kill him. You don't need to worry about Soaring Heaven King Palace. Hall Master Yuan gave Jian Wushuang a boost of confidence. Then, Hall Master Yuan replied to Soaring Heaven King Palace with a short message, I'm sorry, I already texted Jian Wushuang, but he didn't reply. Soaring Heaven King Palace suddenly raged in anger. The 8th lair, in the core region, Jian Wushuang was still chasing after real god Ziyi. Humph, Soaring Heaven King Palace's Soaring Heaven Blood Law used up a lot of divine power and you were severely injured. I'd like to see how long can you run away for. Jian Wushuang's gaze was cold and he was also calculating his divine power in secret. He had spent quite a bit of divine power in the fight earlier and as he was chasing after real god Ziyi by performing the secret skill of dragon blood. Luckily, he had already accumulated 5 drops of ultimate divine power water droplet. Hence, his divine power was sufficient. Until then, he only used 2 drops and he still had enough divine power. However, for real god Ziyi, Jian Wushuang was certain that his divine power was less than 20%. Read more chapter on novel full. Damn it! Jian Wushuang should have received a message from Lineage of Star, but why isn't he stopping? Real god Ziyi's face was pale and he was terrified. He could feel that the divine power in his body was growing lesser. Originally, there was 20%. Then, there was only 10% left. Jian Wushuang, don't force me. Real god Ziyi turned around and let out a shrill scream. Force you? Hee, you're already at this stage but you're so naive. Jian Wushuang scoffed. Alright then. As you want me dead, I won't let you live well either. There was madness in real god Ziyi's eyes. The next moment, he suddenly switched to another direction and plunged towards the other void. Real god Ziyi, he is already in such a state, what is he trying to do? Jian Wushuang was confused. After a while, Jian Wushuang realized real god Ziyi's real intention. This is the dark region. Jian Wushuang's face changed and he looked into the void before him. The void was filled with darkness but not a slight bit of light. In the air, there was obviously denser black fog compared to other places. It was at least double the amount. The dark region, it was a unique region in the 8th layer. Very long ago, there was a war between Sanctuary Alliance and Star Demon Tribe and they came to the lair of Star Demon Tribe. In other words, they came to the 8th lair and foolishly attempted to exterminate all Star Demon entirely. However, in the 8th lair, there were some unique regions. In these regions, every and almighty would be restrained. They couldn't explore, nor could they kill the star demons within. Hence, the unique regions formed into dark regions. The dark region, not only was the place where the most star demons gathered, but there were also other dangers in the dark region. In short, it was very dangerous. With Jian Wushuang's power, to wander in the 8th lair, his life wouldn't be threatened under normal circumstances. However, if he were to barge into the dark region, there were definitely many things that could kill him. Then, real God Ziyi ran to the border of the dark region and plunged into the dark region. You thought I wouldn't come after you if you were to run into the dark region? Such a joke. There was murderous intention flashing in Jian Wushuang's eyes. Although he knew the void before him was a dark region, he continued to chase after him without hesitation. In the dark region, Jian Wushuang continued to chase after real God Ziyi. They continued the chasing game and ran quite a distance. Very soon, real God Ziyi's last 10% of his divine power ran out too. Without divine power, he couldn't perform his secret skill anymore. Swoosh! Real God Ziyi's body stopped into the black fog. He turned around to look at Jian Wushuang. Chapter 1667, Die Together. Chapter 1667, Die Together. Jian Wushuang, I really admire you as you actually dare to chase me into the dark region. Real God Ziyi's eyes were crimson in color and he was staring at Jian Wushuang. Since you dare to come here, why wouldn't I dare to do it as well? Jian Wushuang laughed indifferently. He had already turned back to his human form and his additional 3 heads as well as 6 arms had disappeared. I am different from you. I have already lived for many years. Moreover, I have also stayed as a chaotic real god for millions of years. As such, I have lived enough. But what about you? You are a super genius recognized by the eternal chaotic world as well as an inverse cultivator. Furthermore, it took you quite a bit of effort to finally become what you are now. Therefore, your life is worth more than mine. Real God Ziyi's laughter was filled with madness. To be able to drag a top genius like you to death with me, this means that God is still being generous to me. Drag me to death? Real God Ziyi, aren't you thinking too highly of yourself? Jian Wushuang's voice was cold. Although the dark region is dangerous and it is said that every step is perilous, I am still not very deep in yet. Hence, if I were to go back the way I came from after killing you, I would be able to get out quickly. Since Jian Wushuang dared to charge into the dark region, he naturally had absolute confidence. After all, he was not in the deepest part of the dark region. Thus, he still had a chance to make the situation improve for the better. Ha! You are right. In this situation, it will still not be enough to drag a super genius like you to death with me. However, how about this? All of a sudden, real God Ziyi laughed strangely. Straight away after that, a violent aura burst forth from his body. Jian Wushuang's expression changed fiercely. Self-detonation. Haha, Jian Wushuang, don't you want to kill me? Since that's the case, let the both of us die together. Real God Ziyi's voice was filled with insanity. His body also expanded crazily and the whole universe entered a state of madness. Retreat. Without hesitation, Jian Wushuang retreated hastily. Let's die. Real God Ziyi gave a shrill cry and his expanded body exploded fiercely. Rumble frightening power swept in all directions, and in the blink of an eye, the whole universe was caught in a storm. Jian Wushuang was naturally affected by the power wave. However, as real god Ziyi had used up his divine power and his body was also seriously injured, the power from his self-detonation was not very strong. Moreover, Jian Wushuang was also far away from him and he blocked the power from the explosion easily. Swoosh! Jian Wushuang's body moved quickly and appeared at the center of the storm. With a wave of his hands, he took the treasures of real god Ziyi, as well as his Qian Kun ring. After doing that, Jian Wushuang's expression became unusually grave. "I'm in huge trouble," Jian Wushuang murmured. Real god Ziyi's explosion had indeed not injured him. However, the commotion caused by the self-detonation was extremely shocking. Moreover, he was in the dark region, which was a place where the concentration of star demons was the highest. Even though Jian Wushuang did not see any star demons while chasing after real god Ziyi in the dark region, after real god Ziyi self-detonated himself, Jian Wushuang saw the dark land below him cracking. Crack, crack. Cracks appeared on the dark land continuously and within the cracks, swoosh. 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 Black, ghost-like shadows came out of the ground and there were so many of them that they were uncountable. Star demons, so many star demons. Jian Wushuang's expression turned grave. These star demons had actually been staying underground. Jian Wushuang's soul power had always been spread out. However, it did not seep deep into the ground of the dark land. As such, he did not realize the existence of the star demons previously. However, at that very moment, as the star demons appeared from underground continuously, when Jian Wushuang used his soul power to scan the area, he realized that in his vicinity alone, there were more than thousands of star demons that had appeared. There were thousands of star demons. Moreover, most of them were matured star demons with horns. On top of that, there were also quite a number of three-horned star demons. Furthermore, the star demons were still coming out from the ground. I have to run away quickly. Read more chapter on novel full. Jian Wushuang did not hesitate. When he realized that the star demons were coming out of the ground, he unleashed the secret skill of dragon blood to escape in the direction where he came from. The star demons which were at the bottom naturally noticed Jian Wushuang as well. As such, many star demons leaped high up in the sky and chased after Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang's speed was extremely fast. Moreover, he had also unleashed thousands upon thousands of shadows. These shadows were moving in all directions crazily and they had also attracted the attention of the star demons. A huge number of star demons could be seen throwing themselves onto the shadows. It is fortunate that the star demons are unable to distinguish me from my shadows. Thus, no matter how many of them there is still hope of me escaping by using my martial art motion. Jian Wushuang's expression was grave. However, all of a sudden, swoosh! A three-horned star demon with a body that was obviously larger than the other star demons appeared ahead of Jian Wushuang. Moreover, the most important thing was that the whole body of the three-horned star demon was crimson in color. Crimson star demon. Jian Wushuang was shocked. A three-horned green star demon could already rival top chaotic real god. As for a three-horned crimson star demon, it could rival human cultivators in the real god ranking list. A crimson star demon had actually appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. Moreover, the crimson eyes of the crimson star demon had already locked onto him and it was not confused by the shadows. Whoosh! A crimson, glittering light moved hastily and appeared directly in front of Jian Wushuang. Whoosh! A sharp claw headed for Jian Wushuang's throat and its speed was unbelievable. Not good. Jian Wushuang's expression changed quickly. In a flurry, he used his sword principles to block the attack. Clang! The sharp claw struck the sword blade of the Blood Mountain sword and an unreasonable amount of power burst forth abruptly. Moreover, the power was treading along the sword blade. Not only had Jian Wushuang been wearing the blood feather reincarnation armor, his body had also achieved the level of a chaotic real god. However, at that very moment, under the impact of the power, snap. Jian Wushuang's right arm was ripped off completely and the blood mountain sword that he was holding in his hands was sent flying right away. Puff! Jian Wushuang spit out a mouthful of blood and his body was blasted off like a shooting star. Along the way, he smashed into a number of star demons. Among those star demons, apart from a two-horned star demon which had slightly stronger abilities, the other star demons were turned into blood mist from the impact. It was only after a long time that Jian Wushuang regained his posture. Run! While suppressing the extreme pain in his body and disregarding his right arm, which had been ripped off, as well as his blood mountain sword which was sent flying, Jian Wushuang turned around and escaped quickly. After all, even if his weapon were lost, he could still think of a way to get it back. However, if his life were lost, everything would be lost. Moreover, due to the presence of the Crimson Star Demon, Jian Wushuang did not escape according to his original path. Instead, he could only continue to escape deep into the dark region. However, a huge number of star demons were beside him and in front of him, totally stopping him in his tracks. Jian Wushuang was caught in a hopeless situation. Chapter 1668, Desperate Situation. Chapter 1668, Desperate Situation. I belittled the dark region. Jian Wushuang clenched his teeth. He had already put the secret skill of dragon to play to a great extent as he was besieged and hemmed in by the star demon. In actual fact, he was cautious enough. After he entered the dark region, he had been spreading his soul power to his surroundings and even part of the underground was within the coverage of his soul power. He didn't notice the existence of any star demons, nor did he notice any danger. Hence, he was courageous enough to chase after real God Ziyi. But, he had never thought about the star demons hidden underground. They were out of the coverage of his soul power. With real God Ziyi's explosion, the star demons hidden deep underground were startled and popped up. Then, he was cornered in a desperate situation. What should I do? What should I do? Jian Wushuang constantly thought about the countermeasures. He was calm and composed and wasn't panicking from the desperate situation he was in. After all, a desperate situation like this was something he had encountered countless times before. The number of star demons is too huge and they were pressing in too closely. I didn't even have a chance to use Mountain River Map. Jian Wushuang's trump card, Mountain River Map, once he performed 9 Province Seal and possesses the power to destroy the world, he could kill a large number of star demons on the spot. However, it wasn't easy to perform the trump card. He would at least require time to accumulate power. However, the star demons obviously wouldn't give him that chance. As for the secret skill of Star Palace. The secret skill of Star Place could only last for one breath when the number of star demons surrounding him was so huge. Even if he performed it, he reckoned it wouldn't be of much help. His 2 strongest trump cards were as such. As for his other tricks, like his soul attack, if he were to be fighting against weaker star demons, it would be fine. However, the crucial point was that there were tens of 3-horned star demons and hundreds of 2-horned star demons. Jian Wushuang's soul power was at the level of an eternal real god and it wouldn't pose a threat against 2-horned star demons. The other 2 secret skills of ancient god tribe wouldn't help him to shake off the danger before him either. Jian Wushuang suddenly looked down at the dark ground under him. On the cracked dark ground, there weren't any star demons that popped out anymore. To the underground. Jian Wushuang immediately snuck into the dark ground and plunged towards the underground. He knew that although star demons were extremely strong, they were different from human cultivators. They relied mostly on their sight power to hunt, unlike human cultivators who covered their surrounding with consciousness. As long as he went underground and got out of their sight, he could stand a chance to escape. His idea was great, but in the end, not long after he went underground, he immediately soared up from the underground. The underground in the dark region contains such strong corrosive power. Jian Wushuang looked unpleasant. He finally understood why the star demons in the dark region opted to hide deep underground. It was because there was a unique corrosive power in the underground. The deep it was, the stronger the corrosive power was. It was so strong that Jian Wushuang's chaotic real god-level divine body couldn't withstand it. However, to Star Demon, the corrosive power was an extremely great supplement. It was also the corrosive power that had nurtured them all this while. If I can't go underground, then I shall try the river. Jian Wushuang spread his soul power to his extreme, and he could feel that there was a huge river tens of thousand miles away. The river current was tempestuous and the river was in black. It looked unusually creepy. However, at the crucial moment, Jian Wushuang couldn't be bothered. He plunged down and fled into the black river without hesitation. The moment he entered the water, he felt a bolt of corrosive power as well. Luckily, although the river has corrosive power, the corrosive power isn't as strong as deep underground. With my divine body, I can just about withstand it, Jian Wushuang muttered as he plunged into the water. Although the countless star demons plunged into the river after Jian Wushuang, the moment he reached the bottom of the river and was covered by the water, they found it difficult to see Jian Wushuang's location. There's hope, Jian Wushuang was overjoyed. However, the surprise only lasted for a short while. Then, Jian Wushuang noticed two figures that followed behind him. There were two tall three-horned star demons, and the two of them were a crimson red. They looked just like two crimson star demons. One of them had fought against Jian Wushuang earlier and inflicted a severe injury that broke his arm. He even lost his blood mountain sword because of it. When there was only one, it already caused such damage. Then, there were a total of two crimson star demons behind Jian Wushuang, and their eyes were giving out crimson light. They weren't giving him a chance to escape and locked their gazes on Jian Wushuang even when they were in the river. Damn it! Jian Wushuang couldn't help but curse. Then, he immediately made a decision. Two crimson star demons, Jian Wushuang's gaze grew cold and there was a unique power that soared from within. That power was the power of Star Palace. Besides, between Jian Wushuang's eyebrows, there was a total of 6 gold ancient stars that revealed themselves. Along with Jian Wushuang's expression, the top 2 ancient stars broke apart. The secret skill of ancient god. Star destruction skill. The 2 ancient stars shattered and turned into a boundless power of ancient god that instantly flowed into Jian Wushuang's right index finger. In addition to Jian Wushuang's divine power and the power of stars, the finger suddenly gave out a resplendent, divine glow. Ancient God's 6th finger, Sun Corrosion. Rumble. A huge sun suddenly surfaced from under the river. The sun was extremely glorious along with having a terrifying power. The surrounding river water was evaporating at a terrifying speed. Ancient God's 6th finger. The 6th finger was performed by Jian Wushuang along with the secret of Star Palace and the prerequisite of him breaking 2 ancient stars. The power of the finger had already reached the extreme limit that a real god could achieve. Even the real gods on Real God ranking list, there were definitely very few who could perform such a powerful attack. Then, the finger suddenly charged towards the 2 crimson star demons that were chasing after him. Then, the 2 crimson star demons were drowned straight away. Just as Jian Wushuang performed Ancient God's 6th finger with his all to kill the 2 crimson star demons, in the deepest bottom of the river. Virum. There were 2 crimson lanterns that appeared from nowhere. The 2 lanterns were as glorious as the sun, but due to the existence of the prohibition, the light didn't spread. The power of Star Palace? An ancient yet deep voice was heard, but the voice didn't spread. Chapter 1669, Unexpected Rescue from a Desperate Situation. Chapter 1669, Unexpected Rescue from a Desperate Situation. At the bottom of the dark river, the power of the ancient god's 6th finger that Jian Wushuang had used his full power to unleash burst forth. Rumble, a great amount of water evaporated, and the power of the sixth finger caused the two crimson star demons to give shrill cries. After the power dissipated, among the two crimson star demons, one of them was killed on the spot, while the other one fortunately survived. Although it survived, it was in an extremely tragic state where it had become extremely weak like never before, and it had lost its fighting capabilities. With a wave of Jian Wushuang's hands, he took the demon core of the dead Crimson Star Demon. After that, his body continued to escape madly toward the bottom of the river. Without the two Crimson Star Demons chasing after him, Jian Wushuang saw a chance of surviving. However, at that moment, buzz! All of a sudden, the river water ahead of Jian Wushuang revolved and turned into a whirlpool in the blink of an eye. The whirlpool was bottomless, and Jian Wushuang was also not sure of what the core of the whirlpool was. However, as soon as the whirlpool appeared, it headed toward Jian Wushuang as if it was controlled by someone else. Jian Wushuang's expression changed greatly. However, the power that the whirlpool contained totally exceeded his expectations, and he was completely swallowed by the whirlpool without being able to resist at all. After that, the whirlpool dissipated slowly and the whole dark river quietened down. Only a number of star demons who were still looking for traces of Jian Wushuang in the river remained. However, no matter how hard they looked, they were unable to find Jian Wushuang. This was a standalone space in the deepest part or the bottom of the river. The whole space was covered by a special seal. However, one could still see the rippling sprays of water on the other side of the seal faintly. A ray of light flashed past and Jian Wushuang's body appeared in the standalone space. Jian Wushuang was dumbfounded. Previously, he was about to shake the star demons off. However, a giant whirlpool had appeared on the river and swallowed him, bringing him to his current location. This place should be a standalone space, right? Jian Wushuang was looking around his surroundings. As he was quite knowledgeable, he was able to recognize that he was within a standalone space with just a glance. Moreover, the standalone space was most likely at the bottom of the dark river. A long time ago, I heard that the dark region of the 8 layers contained quite a number of special places, and even almighties were unable to find them. Looking at it now, that seems to be the case. At the least, I reckon that no one in the whole Sanctuary Alliance knows about the standalone space that I am in now, Jian Wushuang said surprisingly. The standalone space was extremely vast and Jian Wushuang was unable to see its end. Moreover, close to 100% of the standalone space was occupied by a big mountain. A big mountain. Yes, it was indeed a giant mountain. From the time Jian Wushuang had begun his training to that moment, he had never seen such a gigantic mountain. Although I cannot see the end, this big mountain should cover at least hundreds of millions of miles of this standalone space, Jian Wushuang murmured. The mountain, which covered hundreds of millions of miles, was only made up of one mountain, and it was not a mountain range made up of countless mountains. Jian Wushuang was exclaiming in admiration. However, all of a sudden, rumble, the giant mountain in front of Jian Wushuang shook abruptly. In the standalone space, the shaking was considered an earthquake in the universe, and countless crushed stones that were 10 miles or even hundreds of miles high fell from the mountain crazily. This is... Jian Wushuang opened his eyes big and he was staring at the scene which was about to unfold in front of him. At the next moment, a scene which caused him to be terrified unfolded. At the center of the gigantic mountain, an enormous head came out from the entrance of a tremendous cave. It was too huge. The head was too huge. It was so huge that it completely exceeded his expectations. From Jian Wushuang's experience, the living thing with the biggest body that he had ever seen was the king of venomous worms when he was at its peak. When he had seen the king of venomous worms for the first time, the space he had occupied was so big that it could form an island. Hence, the king of venomous worms' body had caused Jian Wushuang to be shocked. However, at that moment, when he saw the head which had come out, Jian Wushuang knew that the king of venomous worms' body was considered nothing. It was incomparable to the head in front of him. The size of the head alone was definitely hundreds of times larger than the island that the king of venomous worms had formed when he was at his peak. That's right. It was as big as hundreds of kings of venomous worms. Moreover, it was only the head. If the head was like that, what about its body? Jian Wushuang was swallowing his saliva and he was stunned. If his guess was not wrong, the gigantic mountain in front of him which caused him to be in disbelief was the body of the living thing. It was an unbelievable living thing which occupied hundreds of millions of miles of space. As for what exactly was the living thing, Jian Wushuang managed to recognize it as the huge head that came out from the cave was the head of a dragon. Dragon turtle. Jian Wushuang's body trembled in fear. The living thing in front of him was a dragon turtle that was unbelievably gigantic. After taking a deep breath, Jian Wushuang suppressed his fear and greeted respectfully, "I am Jian Wushuang, greetings to Elder Dragon Turtle." Jian Wushuang. That's your name. An ancient and deep voice could be heard from the dragon turtle. The voice was loud and it resounded across the whole standalone space. Yes, Jian Wushuang nodded his head hastily. Your name is not too bad. However, your abilities, merely pure sun realm. Moreover, you have only entered this realm for not too long. You are really too weak, the dragon turtle said. Pure sun realm. Jian Wushuang was stunned. He was currently at the level of a real god and he had never heard of anyone using the term pure sun realm instead of real god. Little kid, there's a palace on my back and you should go there, the dragon turtle said. Jian Wushuang's expression changed. Without hesitation, his body floated up and he landed on the back of the dragon turtle, which was also the higher end of the lofty mountain. When Jian Wushuang raised his eyes, he saw an extremely huge crystal palace. The crystal palace was about 100,000 feet tall and millions of miles wide. It was definitely an extremely gigantic palace. However, as it was on the back of the dragon turtle, it was completely obstructed from his view and he did not realize it. Jian Wushuang's body continued moving and, in no time, he appeared before the palace door of the crystal palace. At that moment, a dim shadow appeared in front of him. The dim shadow slowly came into view and became a golden-skinned old man. The old man had strange looks and he also had a long golden tail behind him. However, at the moment that such a strange old man appeared, Jian Wushuang's body, mind and soul trembled in fear. Jian Wushuang also had an illusion that the strange old man in front of him could easily kill him a countless number of times for as long as he wanted to. Moreover, no matter what trump cards or techniques he had, there would still be no room for him to struggle. You are Elder Dragon Turtle? Jian Wushuang took a deep breath and questioned reservedly. Chapter 1670, Coffin. Chapter 1670, Coffin. It's me. The weird elderly with a long golden tail spoke, however, I don't like it when people call me Elder Dragon Turtle. My name is Long Qi. You can call me Lord Long Qi. Yes, Lord Long Qi, Jian Wushuang greeted politely. Jian Wushuang behaved rather respectfully when he was talking to a superb expert that could kill him countless times with a snap of his fingers. Let's go. Follow me into the palace to see the master, Long Qi said. The master? Jian Wushuang's heart skipped a beat. From his viewpoint, Long Qi before him was already shockingly strong, but who knew that he would have a master? Just how strong was his master? Jian Wushuang gulped and suppressed the fear in him. Then, he followed Long Qi into the crystal palace. On the way, Long Qi suddenly asked, Jian Wushuang, where did you learn the secret skill of 7 star? Secret skill of 7 star? What secret skill of 7 star? Jian Wushuang looked confused. You don't know? Long Qi stole a glance at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang shook his head subconsciously. There were many secret skills that he had cultivated, but there was not one that was called the secret skill of 7 star. You don't know about secret skill of 7 star, but when you were fighting against the 2 creatures outside, you performed that secret skill. The secret skill contains the unique power of stars, if I'm not mistaken, Long Qi said. The power of stars? Jian Wushuang stunned and he said, the secret skill that I performed just now is called the secret skill of Star Palace but not secret skill of 7 star. What secret skill of Star Palace? Who named it? Long Qi's face grew upset and there was a pressure that was given out uncontrollably. Jian Wushuang immediately became apprehensive and cautious. Such pressure, my goodness, Jian Wushuang felt bitter. Let me ask you, how did you get the secret skill? Long Qi asked and he reined in his pressure. Jian Wushuang let out a breath of relief and answered, Sir, the secret skill is one of the 4 secret skills of Lineage of Star. It is extremely famous in the eternal chaotic world and it was created by the Master of Star Palace from Lineage of Star. Everyone knows that. Why would Lord Long Qi say that its secret skill of 7 star? Created by the Master of Star Palace? Tell me, at what level is the Master of Star Palace? Long Qi asked with interest. The Master of Star Palace is an almighty and he is a top expert among the almighties. Of course, compared to you, he is far behind, Jian Wushuang said. He was telling the truth. It wasn't like he had never seen the Master of Star Palace. Although he had never seen the Master of Star Palace launch an attack with his own eyes, he was sure that the Master of Star Palace couldn't compare favorably with Lord Long Qi. He can't even win against me. How can he create the secret skill of 7 star? Long Qi scoffed, Young man, let me tell you, the secret skill that you cultivated is the secret skill of 7 star that our Master of 7 star Black Sect created personally. The Master of Star Palace that you were talking about earlier, I reckon he got lucky and inherited it from the 7 star Black Sect Master. That's why he obtained the secret skill. 7 star Black Sect. Jian Wushuang was stunned. He had wandered an eternal chaotic world for so long and he had joined Sanctuary Alliance. He was considered quite knowledgeable and experienced but he had never heard of 7 star Black Sect. However, Jian Wushuang could imagine that a sect that included superb experts like Long Qi and his master, and also created secret skill of 7 star, was definitely a terrifying sect. If Jian Wushuang wasn't mistaken, a sect like this should have only existed in ancient times. We of 7 star Black Sect already vanished for so many years. Your so-called Master of Star Palace could get a partial inheritance from 7 star Black Sect, he is quite lucky. But you're quite lucky yourself too. You came to the place when Master was asleep and triggered the power of stars, which awakened me. Otherwise, you might already be dead by the hands of those creatures, Long Qi chuckled. Thank you for coming to the rescue. Jian Wushuang could tell that Long Qi was the one who had made the whirlpool in the water earlier and brought him into the independent space. If not, he would definitely still be being chased after by those star demons. He might stand a slim chance to escape but he most likely would be killed by the star demons. Humph, I saw that you cultivated the secret skill of 7 star and seem to be associated with 7 star Black Sect. That's why I saved you. However, I can only save you temporarily. As for how you leave in the future, I can't help much with that, Long Qi said. Jian Wushuang smiled but didn't bother. Under the lead of Long Qi, Jian Wushuang quickly arrived at the middle of the Crystal Palace. The lofty hall had many decorations that were made of crystals. In the middle of the hall, there was a huge crystal coffin floating in the air. Yes, a coffin. In the coffin, there was a person lying down serenely. It was a black-haired man who was taller than 5 meters and dressed in a luxurious gold robe. The black-haired man looked gentle and pretty. His demonic prettiness was enchanting. In terms of appearance, the black-haired man put many beautiful women in eternal chaotic world to shame. This is Lord Long Qi's master. Jian Wushuang looked at the coffin before him, dumbfounded. He looked at the black-haired man in the coffin. The black-haired man was lying down serenely with his eyes closed but there was a shapeless power that was being given out from his body that reigned in Jian Wushuang's consciousness. The image changed and Jian Wushuang suddenly realized that he was brought to a huge battlefield out of nowhere. On the battlefield, a massacre was being carried out. The sky was tainted with blood. The uppermost heavens were torn with a few cracks forcefully in the battle. From the cracks, there were pillars of water showering down. It was obvious that the sky had holes in it. On the ground below, there were words that collapsed one after another. Thousands of living things broke around the world and instantly vanished into thin air. Superb experts with shocking powers passed away in the war one after another. Some experts passed away and their bodies immediately turned into billowing hills or turned into a sea of blood. Among the experts, a pretty man who was more than 5 meters tall was letting out roars as unwillingness filled his ears. The loud roar reverberated in Jian Wushuang's ears. Doomed. 7-star black sect is doomed. Xian Yi. It's all because of you. A hysterical roar shook Jian Wushuang and the image shattered. In the Crystal Palace, Jian Wushuang's consciousness woke. At that very moment, his head was empty. Chapter 1671, Ancient Past. Chapter 1671, Ancient Past. Shock. Jian Wushuang's mind was filled with shock. The earth-shaking battle in the video had completely exceeded Jian Wushuang's expectations. The commotion and power generated from the battle were enough to show that it was a world-destroying battle. There was also a huge number of experts who had fallen during the battle. Although Jian Wushuang did not participate in the battle, he could still feel that among the experts who had fallen, any one of them would definitely be a super expert who stood at the top of the pyramid if they were placed in the current eternal chaotic world. Moreover, it was also unknown as to whether the eternal chaotic world still contained super experts of that caliber. Furthermore, it would be impossible for such a great battle to occur in the current eternal chaotic world. Ancient Past. Great Battle of the Ancient Past. Jian Wushuang understood at once. Ancient Past, that was an era that was so long ago that it had become a legend. Jian Wushuang had also heard of some rumors about the ancient past. It was said that in the ancient past, there were innumerable experts, as well as plenty of super experts, who could destroy the universe, and it was not an era that could be compared to the current eternal chaotic world. However, after the Great Battle, the ancient past collapsed. Moreover, countless experts of that era were on the brink of extinction and even the universe had changed greatly. After the ancient past, another era seemed to have passed and the world had slowly developed into the current eternal chaotic world. The ancient past was extremely long ago. Furthermore, the gap between the experts of that era and the experts of the current era was too huge. Hence, the ancient past became a legend. However, after looking at the video, Jian Wushuang could confirm that the video was showing the Great Battle of the Ancient Past. The 7-star black sect had probably disappeared during the Great Battle of the Ancient Past. As for the master of the Crystal Palace, he was the black-robed man within the coffin which was in front of Jian Wushuang, and he was a super expert of the ancient past. Apart from the Great Battle, the thing that had caused Jian Wushuang to be shocked the most were the loud shouts from the black-robed man during the Great Battle. Jian Wushuang heard the name that he had mentioned in his loud shouts clearly. Xian Yi. Xian Yi. It's all because of you. It should be known that the name of Jian Wushuang's master was Xian Yi as well. With two similar names, Jian Wushuang could not help but guess that the Xian Yi who the black-robed man mentioned was the same person as his master. Could his master be a super expert who came from the ancient past, just like the black-robed man? Jian Wushuang. The strange old man Long Qi, who was dragging his golden tail, looked over. You should have seen that video, right? How do you feel? Do you feel very shocked? Yes, Jian Wushuang nodded his head subconsciously. Ha! It's normal for you to be shocked. Not to mention a little kid like you who is in the pure sun realm. If it had been anyone else who saw that kind of great battle, he would also be extremely shocked, Long Qi chuckled. Lord Long Qi, did you also participate in that battle? Jian Wushuang could not help but ask. Of course I participated. Even though that earth-shaking battle was many years ago, it still causes me to feel fearful. My master was an unbelievable person. However, he nearly died during that battle. Up till now, he has been in a deep sleep and it is unknown when he will wake up again. Moreover, it's a pity that my abilities were too low and I was unable to help master at all during that battle, Long Qi sighed. Lord Long Qi, your abilities were considered extremely low during that battle. Jian Wushuang's heart twitched. After taking a deep breath, he continued to ask, Lord, do you know what caused that battle? No idea. Long Qi shook his head, I am a dragon turtle and I have always been sleepy. Hence, I have always spent the years in deep sleep. It is only when Master calls for me that I will show myself and fight side by side with him. However, I have never asked Master about his personal life. Moreover, the battle back then came about abruptly. Not to mention me, even many fallen immortal existences were not sure about the cause of the battle up until the moment that they died. Even without knowing the cause, all those super experts died. Jian Wushuang was shocked. After that, he asked again, Lord Long Qi, in that video, your master mentioned the name Xian Yi. Do you know that person? Jian Wushuang was expressionless. He naturally could not tell Long Qi that his own master was called Xian Yi. I don't know about him. Long Qi shook his head like before, although I don't know who Xian Yi is, I know that the cause of that shocking great battle is definitely related to him. Jian Wushuang was shocked. He knew that when he had heard the furious roar from the black-robed man in the video. He could tell that the black-robed man hated Xian Yi. Jian Wushuang did not know whether the cause of the great battle was related to Xian Yi. However, he could confirm that the destruction of the seven-star black sect was definitely highly related to Xian Yi. I wonder if the Xian Yi who the black-robed man mentioned is the same person as my master Xian Yi. If it's the same person, then my master, Jian Wushuang could not help but clench his fists. He had already guessed that the background of his own master was not normal. However, he had never linked him to the ancient past. Ancient past, it was really too far away from that very moment. Jian Wushuang. All of a sudden, Long Qi looked toward Jian Wushuang, you have cultivated the secret skill of 7-star and have also come to the place where Master is in a deep sleep. This means that fate has brought you and Master together. Please go and greet my Master. Understood, Jian Wushuang nodded his head. The black-robed man lying in the coffin in front of him was a super expert from the ancient past. Moreover, the secret skill of 7-star which he had cultivated was also from the 7-star black sect. Hence, Jian Wushuang found it worth it to greet the black-robed man in front of him. Jian Wushuang came before the coffin, took a deep breath and paid respect to the black-robed man who was in the coffin immediately. He paid respect to the black-robed man for 2 breaths' time before standing up. Jian Wushuang, please follow me. After talking, Long Qi brought Jian Wushuang to the deepest part of the Crystal Palace. Jian Wushuang naturally followed him obediently. In a split second, Long Qi brought Jian Wushuang to a lofty palace. The big palace was also composed of crystals. However, what was different was that the crystals were black in color. The whole area was also in complete darkness and not even the slightest bit of light could be seen. Lord Long Qi, this place is. Jian Wushuang questioned doubtfully. Don't be anxious, look carefully, Long Qi said nonchalantly. Jian Wushuang stopped asking and looked ahead of him quietly with great concentration. The Crystal Palace was in complete darkness. However, bright starlight started to light up from the black crystals which were in front of Jian Wushuang. There was a total of 7 rays of starlight. The 7 rays of starlight were arranged in an extremely special way and in no time, they became a dazzling 7-star pattern. Chapter 1672, 7-Star Picture, Eta Ursi Majoris. Chapter 1672, 7-Star Picture, Eta Ursae Majoris. The huge 7-star picture was displayed before Jian Wushuang in a unique way. Jian Wushuang looked at the 7 stars in the picture but he didn't understand anything from it. Lord Longqi, this picture is, Jian Wushuang asked subconsciously. This is the 7-star picture that only 7-star Black Sect has. The experts of 7-star Black Sect use it to comprehend the order of heaven and earth, and also rules of auxiliary treasure. The order of heaven and earth? The rules? Jian Wushuang was astonished. Of course, these things for you, who are in pure sun realm, are too far beyond. However, considering the fact that you were quite respectful when you greeted Master just now, I will give you an opportunity to comprehend. After all, one who cultivates the secret skill of 7-star is hard to come by. Someone who was related to Master came, I can't let them leave empty-handed, Longqi said. An opportunity to comprehend? Jian Wushuang was filled with excitement. Although he didn't know what was so special about the 7-star picture, the picture was useful to the experts in ancient times, so he believed it was definitely useful. Lord Longqi, how do I comprehend this 7-star picture? Jian Wushuang asked. In 7-star picture, there is a total of 7 stars. The 7 stars are Alpha Ursae Majoris, Beta Ursae Majoris, Gamma Ursae Majoris, Delta Ursae Majoris, Epsilon Ursae Majoris, Zeta Ursae Majoris and Eta Ursae Majoris. Every star has a unique orbit and evolution. Among the 7 stars, Alpha Ursae Majoris' orbit and evolution is the most unfathomable, while Eta Ursae Majoris has the easiest orbit and evolution. With your current power, you can only barely comprehend Eta Ursae Majoris. Remember this. You only have this one chance to comprehend. As for how much you can comprehend, that comes down to your capability. Longqi said and moved towards the last star on 7-star picture. Suddenly, the other 6 stars disappeared while the star that Longqi tapped on was quickly magnified in Jian Wushuang's eyes. Cherish this opportunity. Longqi drew back his palm before he turned and walked out of the hall. In the hall, there was only Jian Wushuang alone with the huge star before him. The star was extremely huge. Jian Wushuang looked at the star as though he saw a huge world. His entire mind and body were immersed into the star. At the beginning, the star had yet to complete and was under the breeding process. As time flew past, the star began to perfect and grow slowly. Just like a human, from growing on the placenta, to being born and growing up. From a baby that grew up into a teenager, a young adult and finally entered adulthood. The evolution of the star was the same. However, the time taken was longer than a human by a few folds. A star would take at least tens of millions of years to be born. This is a star's orbit and evolution. Too unfathomable, too magical. Jian Wushuang was in unprecedented shock. He knew that he needed to comprehend, but the orbiting and evolution of star was far beyond his imagination. He couldn't feel the thing at the depths, but he could only feel a rough orbit. But even though Jian Wushuang could only feel something rough, it was a drastic transformation. The time flew past. Since human birth till adulthood, and in the end, growing old and dying. The star followed a similar fashion. After a star was born, until it became perfect, it would have to face a breakdown and an extermination in the end. With the aid of 7-star picture, Jian Wushuang saw the progress of a star's birth to extermination clearly. The entire process took more than hundreds of millions of years, but comprehension in reality only took 10 years. 10 years later, the star broke down and turned into dust. The comprehension of 7-star picture ended as well. However, Jian Wushuang continued to sit in the hall. His consciousness was still indulged in the transformation process of the star and he continued to understand and comprehend. 3 months later, Jian Wushuang slowly came back to reality. Read more chapter on novel full. Phew. Jian Wushuang let out a breath of relief and there was shock in Jian Wushuang's eyes. It's too magical. The transformation progress of the star is too magical. It's a pity that I could only see something so superficial. Jian Wushuang found it a regrettable matter. He had once been to many unique places and comprehended some magical things. However, anything that he had comprehended previously couldn't be compared favorably with Seven-Star Picture. Even the 27 scroll paintings in Fairy Palace in Sanctuary Alliance were too different from Seven-Star Picture. My comprehension towards reincarnation doctrine has heightened. Jian Wushuang suddenly looked surprised. He could feel that he had used the power of reincarnation and it had improved tremendously. He reckoned that his reincarnation doctrine could possess the power to pass through the 5th level in Doctrine Palace. As for spacetime doctrine, it was the same too. Although his comprehension of spacetime doctrine had yet to pass through the 6th level in Doctrine Palace currently, he wasn't far from it. Out of the 27 scroll paintings in Spacetime Fairy Palace, he had definitely already comprehended 16 paintings. Even the 17th painting, he had comprehended more than half of it. In merely 10 years of comprehension, he had merely comprehended the evolutionary process of Eta Ursae Majoris, which was the lowest in Seven-Star Picture, and he could merely see the superficial things. But in the end, his comprehension towards doctrines had improved tremendously. What Jian Wushuang found unbelievable was that not only did the 10 years of comprehension help him to improve the power and comprehension towards the power of Heaven Way, but he had also improved tremendously in soul power via comprehension. My current soul strength should have reached the level of chaotic real God and the extremely strong kind of chaotic real God. Jian Wushuang clenched his hand and felt the soul fire in the sea of his consciousness. The soul fire was much bigger than before. In terms of size itself, it was 3 times bigger. One should know that Jian Wushuang's soul power was at the standard of an ordinary eternal real God. With 1 time of comprehension, it had instantly increased so much. The 7-Star Picture. It lives up to the reputation of a treasure that helped superb experts in ancient time in comprehension. Jian Wushuang muttered. Jian Wushuang sighed and slowly got up to walk out of the hall. Just as he walked out of the hall, Jian Wushuang saw Long Qi, who was waiting for him while leaning against a crystal pillar. Long Qi opened his eyes and looked at Jian Wushuang. "Young man, you look like you have gained quite a bit, huh?" Jian Wushuang smiled at his comment. His reward was not only quite a bit, it was great. Chapter 1673, A Presumptuous Request. Chapter 1673. A Presumptuous Request. Comprehending that 7-star pattern has indeed caused my abilities to skyrocket. However, even with that, I am still not confident that I can leave safely. Jian Wushuang's expression turned grave. I have already given you the opportunity. As for whether you can leave this place alive, that's none of my business. Long Qi said indifferently, "Of course, if you really have no confidence, you can continue training in this palace for a period of time and leave when you are powerful enough." After hearing what was said, Jian Wushuang frowned. He was sure that outside the standalone space, there were a huge number of star demons. As soon as he went out, he would definitely be hunted down by the star demons crazily. Moreover, with his current abilities, it was totally impossible for him to escape from the dark region with those star demons besieging him. It would only be possible if he could make a breakthrough and become a Stage 2 ultimate real god. However, to reach that stage, he would need to accumulate a huge amount of divine power. Furthermore, it would take a long time for the divine power to accumulate. By just relying on his own training, he would still be unable to make a breakthrough even after 100,000 years' time. Moreover, to him, 100,000 years' time was too long. The space and time of the dark region is special. Hence, I cannot send a message out. With that, I am also unable to request for help from the lineage of Star, Jian Wushuang muttered to himself. Even the lineage of Star did not know that he had chased real god Ziyi to the dark region. At that moment, the lineage of Star was probably looking for his whereabouts anxiously. However, it was near to impossible for the lineage of Star to expand their search all the way into the dark region. Since he was unable to rely on the lineage of Star, he could only rely on himself. Just relying blindly on my own training to accumulate divine power will waste too much time. The only shortcut is to find a way to get more demon cores. Jian Wushuang clenched his fists tightly. He was in the dark region, which was the place that was most concentrated with star demons as well as the place with the most powerful star demons. Hence, it would be extremely difficult to go on a killing spree wantonly in such a place to obtain demon cores. However, it was not impossible. Lord Long Qi, I would like to make a presumptuous request, Jian Wushuang said respectfully. Tell me your request. Long Qi shot a glance at Jian Wushuang. For the next period of time, I will try to go outside and hunt for star demons. Thus, I would like to have the right to enter this standalone space freely. Jian Wushuang felt a bit nervous. After all, there were no friendly relations between him and Lord Long Qi. Previously, Long Qi had only saved him as he had cultivated the secret skill of 7-star as well. Moreover, Long Qi also gave him an opportunity. All these actions were just Long Qi being kind. However, at that moment, he still requested Long Qi to give him the right to enter the standalone space freely. The standalone space was the sleeping place of Long Qi's master, who was the black-robed man lying in the coffin. I can agree to this. However, it will be limited to 1,000 years. After 1,000 years, you have to leave, Long Qi said. 1,000 years? Jian Wushuang muttered to himself and he nodded his head immediately. That's more than enough. Alright. I will create a space passage that links this place to the outside world. For the next 1,000 years, you can use that space passage to enter and exit this place freely, Long Qi said. Lord, thank you very much, Jian Wushuang was delighted. You can take your time and train here. After talking, Long Qi's body disappeared with a flash. After Long Qi left, Jian Wushuang sat down with his legs crossed right away. If I wish to leave this place quickly, I have to obtain a huge number of demon cores so that I can make a breakthrough. As for the way to obtain demon cores, Jian Wushuang clenched both his fists tightly. He already had a plan in his mind. There's no rush. Let me first absorb the pure power from the demon cores that I currently have. Jian Wushuang laughed apathetically. With a wave of his big hands, a huge number of demon cores appeared in front of him. Those demon cores were obtained by Jian Wushuang from real god Ziye's Qian Kun Ring. Real god Ziyi had been traveling in the core area of the 8th layer throughout the years, and he had been doing so for more than thousands of years. Thus, during the thousands of years, he had naturally obtained many demon cores from hunting star demons. However, after Jian Wushuang had killed him, those demon cores had naturally landed in the hands of Jian Wushuang, and there were hundreds of them. Of course, among the hundreds of demon cores, most of them were grade 1 demon cores and grade 2 demon cores. As for grade 3 demon cores, there were very few of them. Moreover, among the demon cores, the highest grade demon core was a crimson core. This demon core was obtained by Jian Wushuang after using his trump card to kill a 3-horned crimson star demon. The amount of pure power that the crimson core contained was extremely shocking. Let's begin. Jian Wushuang started to absorb the pure power from the demon cores with great concentration immediately. However, he did not know that Lord Long Qi was secretly observing him from somewhere within the Crystal Palace. He was observing each and every action of Jian Wushuang. This little kid is absorbing the power within the demon cores. Long Qi frowned. The power within the demon cores are exceptionally pure and it is a great idea to absorb them. However, the divine power that this little kid possesses is extremely strange. Jian Wushuang possessed the ultimate divine power, which was completely different from the divine power of a normal real god. The only thing was that normal experts would not be able to tell such a kind of special divine power apart. Within the eternal chaotic world, even many almighties would be unable to tell it apart. They would at most think that Jian Wushuang's divine power was many times stronger than someone else who was of a similar realm to him. As for Long Qi, as an expert from the ancient past, he could tell that Jian Wushuang's divine power was not normal. Even though he has just entered the pure sun realm, his divine power is so strong. The cultivation techniques that this little kid cultivates are not normal. Moreover, I can also feel a very peculiar treasure from him. What will this treasure be? It would require time to absorb the demon cores. The higher the level of the demon core, the slower the absorption speed. With hundreds of demon cores and even a crimson core, Jian Wushuang only finished absorbing all the pure power from the demon cores after a total of 11 years. Moreover, after he was done with the absorption, his body, which had originally contained 5 droplets of ultimate divine power, had managed to form the 6th droplet at that moment. Furthermore, he was very close to forming the 7th ultimate divine power water droplet. A little bit more, just a little bit more, and the 7th ultimate divine power water droplet will be formed. Jian Wushuang clenched both his fists tightly and his eyes were glowing brilliantly. He could feel very clearly that he was getting closer and closer to stage 2 ultimate real god. I have finished absorbing all the demon cores that I have obtained from real god Ziyi. Next, it's about time for me to execute my plan, Jian Wushuang muttered to himself. At the next moment, he stood up slowly, stretched his body and headed out of the palace immediately. After walking out of the Crystal Palace, what Jian Wushuang saw was still the giant standalone space and, at the end of his field of vision, there was a space passage. Without much hesitation, Jian Wushuang's body turned vague and he entered the space passage straight away. Chapter 1674, Hunting Plan. Chapter 1674, Hunting Plan. The space tunnel connected the independent space to the outside, but it was still the bottom of the dark river. Jian Wushuang, who had returned to the bottom of the rive, outspread his soul power at the first instant. After 20 years, the dark river settled down entirely. The star demons that chased after Jian Wushuang to the bottom of the river back then had already returned to the shore. Jian Wushuang slowly got closer to the shore. Although he was underwater, Jian Wushuang's soul power covered everything on the shore. As expected, the star demon didn't return to the underground. Jian Wushuang's face grew solemn. The star demon clan was very unique. Previously, when Jian Wushuang had chased after real god Ziyi and come into the dark region, the star demons were hidden deep in the underground. However, since they were startled, the star demons had climbed up from the underground. In a short time, they wouldn't return to the underground. Jian Wushuang naturally couldn't leave the dark region in silence. There are so many of them, Jian Wushuang exclaimed in surprise. Merely within the coverage of his soul power, there were more than thousands of star demons. Among the thousands of star demons, almost all were adult star demons who possessed demon cores. There were many 2-horned and 3-horned star demons. Jian Wushuang aimed at the region with the most densely populated star demons, then he moved towards the region underwater. At the same time, there was a scroll painting that appeared in Jian Wushuang's hand. When he got closer to the region, he threw the scroll painting into the dark void above. The scroll painting instantly flowed into the dark void. Rumble. Heaven and earth shook. The star demons at the scene, including those strong 3-horns green star demons and 3-horns crimson star demons, had yet to respond, but the dark void above took a drastic change. A huge, enchanting scroll painting world surfaced. The scroll painting world covered the entire sky like water flowing gracefully. In the scroll painting, there were 9 pieces of land. The boundless aura spread across from the scroll painting world that attracted the star demons below to notice it, and they let out groans and roars. There was a large number of star demons roaring, but there was no star demon that noticed Jian Wushuang, who was hiding in the water. Until the boundless divine power swept out from Jian Wushuang's body to evaporate the surrounding river water and caused a huge movement, the star demons slowly noticed his existence. Human cultivator. Eat. Kill. Kill. A large number of star demons instantly swarmed over and charged at Jian Wushuang. On the other hand, Jian Wushuang was also soaring with murderous intention. Mountain river as palm and nine province as print. A seal breaks heaven. Jian Wushuang uttered every single word coldly, and every word contained a special magic power. In the scroll painting world, the 9 lands suddenly became alive. One of them even surfaced from the scroll painting world gradually. A terrifying pressure pressed over madly. The star demons that were within the coverage of the land felt the pressure, and their roars became more shrill and mad. Begone! There was a sharp gleam in Jian Wushuang's eyes. The lofty land finally descended and pressed onto the vast land before Jian Wushuang. In an instant, the tens of thousands of miles of vast land was crushed by the lofty land while the star demons roared in madness. A terrifying power exploded entirely, and those star demons almost instantly crushed them into pieces under the pressure of the lofty land. Rumble. A terrifying power formed into storm that dispersed in all directions. Very soon, everything settled down. The mountain river map rolled up and Jian Wushuang kept it. Jian Wushuang stood in the void and swept his soul power out. He could clearly see within the expanse of tens of thousand miles crushed by the lofty land before him. It had originally had a large number of star demons, but then there were only 3 star demons that were alive. The 3 star demons were 3 Horns Crimson Star Demon, which could be compared favorably with an expert on human real god ranking list. They could barely survive the crush of the lofty land. But besides the 3 Crimson Star Demons, the rest of the 1,000 star demons were dead. In the huge land, rays of black light glowed. The lights were demon cores. In a glance, there were at least 1,000 of them. So many demon cores. I'll see how many can I get. Jian Wushuang licked his lips and there was a flash of heat in his eyes. The next moment, he soared up into a statue of dark gold ancient god, and the statue revealed 4 heads and 8 arms at the same time. The divine power in Jian Wushuang started burning with madness and, in the next moment, he gave full play to the secret skill of dragon blood to his limit. Swoosh! There was a ray of golden lightning suddenly sweeping out, and it barged into the expanse of tens of thousands of miles that was crushed by sky-breaking seal. That ray sucked in the floating demon cores into his Qian Kun ring. In the coverage of the tens of thousands of miles, the 3 green star demons that weren't killed earlier saw Jian Wushuang's movement, and they immediately let out a sad and shrill scream. Then, they plunged towards Jian Wushuang in an instant. Besides, in the expanse of tens of thousands of miles, there were still demon stars that were charging over madly. Among the 3 Crimson Star Demons, the one who was closest to Jian Wushuang only needed at most 2 breaths to get to Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang tried his best to take in as many demon cores as possible within the 2 breaths. Take! Take! Jian Wushuang seized the time to collect them. 2 breaths' time passed in the blink of an eye. The first Crimson Star Demon had already arrived. Jian Wushuang was shocked at the sight and acted without hesitation. Escape! Under the amplitude of the secret skill of dragon blood, Jian Wushuang's speed was shockingly fast, and he cast a lot of shadows at the same time. Although the shadows couldn't confuse the Crimson Star Demons, Jian Wushuang's speed increased slightly with the aid of his martial art motion. As he ran at full speed, Jian Wushuang arrived at the Black River again after a short while, and he instantly dived down into the river. The star demons naturally dived down into the river as well. They were chasing after Jian Wushuang madly. In the deepest bottom of the river, there was a space tunnel. Jian Wushuang snuck into the space tunnel and vanished before the star demons that were chasing after him. Swoosh! A dark golden flowing light burst out from another end of the space tunnel and appeared in the independent space again. The dark golden flowing light dispersed and Jian Wushuang's body was slowly revealed. At that very moment, he looked surprised. Done! My hunting plan worked out. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands and he was really excited. Chapter 1675, Stage 2 Ultimate Real God. Chapter 1675, Stage 2 Ultimate Real God. As he was trapped within the standalone space due to the star demons, he naturally needed to find a way to leave. However, Jian Wushuang was dissatisfied with relying on himself to accumulate divine power by training for many years. Hence, he had to hunt down the star demons and get their demon cores. However, there were too many star demons and they were extremely powerful. Thus, it would not work if he were to use normal hunting techniques. Therefore, Jian Wushuang drafted a plan to hunt them. Frankly speaking, the plan was very simple. He would use the first move, split the heaven seal, of the mountain river map's 9-province seal and do his best to kill the star demons. As he currently had a great amount of divine power, when he unleashed the split the heaven seal with his full power, the power that it brought forth would be so powerful that it would make him rank at the front of the real god ranking list. When such an attack was used as a large-range attack, it would be able to kill a great number of star demons. Moreover, this had been proven to be true. Within a range of tens of thousands of miles, among the thousands of star demons with unequal abilities, apart from the 3 crimson star demons which were the strongest, all the other star demons were exterminated by the split the heaven seal. After killing them, Jian Wushuang made his move with lightning speed and in a short amount of time, he would do his best to collect as many demon cores as possible. When the other star demons finally reacted and headed toward him, he would run back to the standalone space immediately. As long as he escaped into the standalone space, the star demons would not be able to do anything against him. Everything happened as Jian Wushuang had expected. If there were something that he felt was a pity, it would be that he only had 2 breaths time and it was too short. Hence, he did not manage to collect a lot of demon cores. The number of demon cores he collected was probably less than 1/4 of what was available. It should be known that when Jian Wushuang had used the split the heavens seal moments ago, he had killed thousands of star demons in one go. Even though he did not manage to collect 1/4 of what was available, he had still managed to collect more than 300 demon cores. After returning to the Crystal Palace, Jian Wushuang sat down with his legs crossed in a big palace immediately. With that, he started to do an inventory check on the number of demon cores that he had collected within the 2 breaths time. 8 grade 3 green demon cores. 21 normal grade 3 demon cores. 52 grade 2 demon cores. The type of demon core that I have the most is the grade 1 demon core with a total of 234 of them. By adding all the demon cores together, I will have a total of 322 demon cores. Ha! After checking his inventory, Jian Wushuang was pleasantly surprised at the results. It should be known that the number of demon cores that real god Ziyi had obtained after traveling in the core region of the 8th lair for thousands of years was comparable to what he had at that moment. Moreover, in terms of quality, real god Ziyi's demon cores were inferior to his. With only 1 extermination, his gains were greater than real god Ziyi's, who had traveled in the core region of the 8th lair for thousands of years. Previously, after absorbing real god Ziyi's demon cores, I was about to form the 7th ultimate divine power water droplet. And now, if I absorb all these demon cores, I will definitely be able to form the 7th ultimate divine power water droplet, and even the 8th droplet as well. Jian Wushuang's eyes were glowing brilliantly. Let's begin. Without much delay, Jian Wushuang started to absorb the pure power within the demon cores with great concentration. At the same time as Jian Wushuang was absorbing the power of the demon cores, Lord Longqi's eyes, which were glowing with a special light, were looking at Jian Wushuang from somewhere within the Crystal Palace. Although he had been staying within the standalone space, he still paid attention to everything that had happened in the outside world moments ago. This little kid. Previously, I could tell that he possessed a special treasure that even I was able to detect, and it was as I had expected. However, I did not expect the treasure that he possessed to actually be the mountain river map. During the battle back then, the mountain river map should have been torn into pieces and it was seriously damaged. However, when the little kid took it out, the mountain river map has been patched up completely. Who is the person who patched it up? Long Qi was filled with doubts. He was certain how badly damaged the mountain river map had been after the battle back then. Thus, he also knew how difficult it was to patch it up. However, at that moment, Jian Wushuang took out a mountain river map, which was completely intact. No matter who is the person who patched it up, since this little kid has the mountain river map, this means that he is indeed very closely related to the 7-star black sect that Master is in. Hence, I absolutely cannot let such a little kid die here. As Long Qi murmured to himself, his voice could be heard for a long time in the palace. In a flash, another 10 years passed. Once again, Jian Wushuang had finished absorbing the pure power from the demon cores that he had obtained. As for the ultimate divine power water droplet in his body, the 7th droplet had formed as he wished, and he was also very close to forming the 8th droplet. Read more chapter on novel full. This is exactly as I thought. I am already very close to forming the 8th ultimate divine power water droplet. Next, time to continue. Jian Wushuang's eyes glowed brilliantly. After that, he began his second hunt. In a split second, Jian Wushuang returned to the Crystal Palace again. It was the same hunting technique as before. Although Jian Wushuang did not obtain as many demon cores as before, he still obtained more than 280 of them. Once again, Jian Wushuang started to absorb the pure power within the demon cores. Just like that, Jian Wushuang repeated the cycle of hunting and absorbing. Although every hunt was extremely risky, Jian Wushuang's luck was considered not too bad. After many rounds of hunting, he obtained an innumerable number of demon cores. By absorbing these demon cores, they became the ultimate divine power in his body. Time passed by, and in the blink of an eye, 60 years had passed. During the 60 years, Jian Wushuang went on a hunt 5 times. Although he got his way all 5 times, the number of demon cores that he obtained decreased with every hunt. After all, although there were many star demons near the river, they were unable to withstand his repeated massacre. Thus, their numbers naturally decreased. At that moment, when Jian Wushuang went out for a hunt, he could at most obtain over 100 demon cores on each hunt. Although there were fewer demon cores, it was still enough for Jian Wushuang. Within the Crystal Palace, Jian Wushuang was sitting down alone with his legs crossed, and he was slowly absorbing the pure power from a grade 3 green demon core in his hands. As he absorbed the pure power, the ultimate divine power in his body continued to rise. Moreover, at the start, his ultimate divine power was gathering madly. However, in the end, it formed a new ultimate divine power water droplet. At the moment that the ultimate divine power water droplet was formed, Jian Wushuang opened his eyes fiercely and stopped absorbing the demon core immediately. The 10th ultimate divine power water droplet has been formed. Jian Wushuang was over the moon. At that moment, there was a total of 10 ultimate divine power water droplets floating in his body quietly. When they were linked together, they formed a complete circle. Straight away after that, Jian Wushuang's body shook violently. At that moment, his body and his ultimate divine power started to undergo a transformation. Such a transformation was purely a transformation in terms of quality, where the divine power and body would rise to a new level. The transformation process was not complicated, and the time that it took was not very long either. After just a short while, the transformation was complete. As for Jian Wushuang, by just clenching both his fists tightly, frightening power burst forth abruptly and crushed the void easily. I have achieved Stage 2 Ultimate Real God. Chapter 1676, Soul Attack Divine Weapon. Chapter 1676, Soul Attack Divine Weapon. Stage 2 Ultimate Real God was equal to an eternal real God of an ordinary cultivator. However, the distance was vast. A Stage 1 Ultimate Real God himself, Jian Wushuang's divine power and divine body was at the level of chaotic real God. Then, he reached Stage 2 and his divine power and divine body instantly jumped to almighty level. It was almighty, an existence on the top of the pyramid in eternal chaotic world. This is the power that an almighty possesses. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands and felt the strength in his hand. He wasn't sure how much stronger it was compared to his strength before. Strong, unbelievably strong. No wonder the almighties could be high above. Merely the divine power and divine body itself is far beyond a chaotic real god. Jian Wushuang sighed. Of course, he was only at stage 2. Hence, his divine power and divine body was only the first level among the almighties. The almighties were also segregated into 3 different levels. The 3 levels had their own names. The first level was called Sir God. The second level was called Emperor God. The third level, also the highest level in eternal chaotic world, was Great Emperor. Among the 3 levels of almighties, Sir God was naturally the most common, followed by Emperor God, and Great Emperor was the rarest. Like the owner of Sky Sword Mountain, Gu Tong King and Gui King, the 2 7-star ancient gods were Sir God level. The Star Palace Master, Luozhen King and Guyu King, the 2 8-star ancient gods were Emperor God level. As for Great Emperor, Jian Wushuang had yet to see one, but he knew of Purple Moon Emperor, the master of Purple Moon Sanctuary. Of course, Purple Moon Sanctuary had a super existence of a Great Emperor. Jian Wushuang believed that the other sanctuaries should have super existences of Great Emperor level as well. However, including the entire Sanctuary Alliance, experts who were of Great Emperor level were definitely extremely few. Jian Wushuang's divine power and divine body then was at the level of an ordinary Sir God. Divine power and divine body are considerable. Compared to an ordinary Sir God, my disadvantage should be in comprehension of power of Heaven Way. If my comprehension of power of Heaven Way reaches the standard of the 7th level in Doctrine Palace, I could totally fight against an ordinary almighty, Jian Wushuang muttered, and he was filled with excitement. Just then, vroom. A shadow suddenly appeared next to Jian Wushuang. Lord Long Qi, Jian Wushuang bowed politely. You broke through. Long Qi stared at Jian Wushuang. Yes, Jian Wushuang nodded. From pure Yang initial success stage to great achievement stage, although it is just a small breakthrough, your divine power and divine body went through such a drastic change. Your cultivation methods are quite unusual. Even I have never seen such method. Real God Long Qi's voice was calm. Pure Yang initial success stage to great achievement stage that he had mentioned was actually referring to void real God turning into eternal real God. It was just that the way eternal chaotic world and ancient times referred to realms differently. I am an inverse cultivator, so my method is different, Jian Wushuang smiled. Inverse cultivator? I have never heard of it, Long Qi shook his head. There were no inverse cultivators back in ancient times. Don't bother about that. Young man, I suddenly recalled that there is something that you might be able to use, Long Qi suddenly said. At the same time, there was an item that popped into his hand. Jian Wushuang immediately looked at the item in Long Qi's hand. It was a dark gold rod. The dark gold rod was long but extremely thin. Under normal circumstances, an expert who was good with rods wouldn't opt for a thin long rod to be his weapon. Lord Long Qi, this is... Jian Wushuang looked confused. The dark gold rod was probably unsuitable for an expert who was good at rods, while Jian Wushuang was a sword cultivator. A rod wouldn't be of any use to him. This is Hong Jun Divine Rod. Of course, it is imitated, Long Qi said. An imitated divine weapon? Jian Wushuang was surprised. Hong Jun Divine Rod wasn't an attack divine weapon but a soul attack divine weapon. Long Qi glanced at Jian Wushuang and threw the dark gold rod at Jian Wushuang at the same time. Jian Wushuang caught the rod automatically. He originally thought such a thin, dark gold rod shouldn't carry much weight, so he caught it with one hand. However, the moment he caught the dark gold rod, an unprecedented strength pressed onto his hand and his palm instantly bent from the sudden pressure. His body too grew heavy and he quickly extended his other hand. Using two hands at the same time, Jian Wushuang held the dark gold rod with difficulty. So heavy. Too heavy. My divine power is at the level of an almighty. In the end, I still find it strenuous to carry the rod with two hands. Jian Wushuang found it unbelievable. Just how strong was an almighty's divine power? Forget about the rod, he could break or lift up 100 million Jin mountain easily. But then, the dark gold rod in his hand made him feel heavy and strained. Soul attack divine weapon. In other words, the rod was driven with soul power. Jian Wushuang asked. Yes, you can give it a try now, Long Qi said. Jian Wushuang didn't hesitate and instantly let his boundless soul power flow out to cover the dark gold rod. Then, Jian Wushuang slowly hid his palms and let his soul power carry the dark gold rod. He let it float in the air in silence. It's still very heavy, Jian Wushuang muttered. His soul power already reached the level of a chaotic real god. However, it was still strenuous to carry the dark gold rod before him. It was difficult to even carry it up. It would be total extravagant hope to manipulate the dark gold rod to kill his enemy. You try to control Hong Jun divine rod to move forward and see how far it can go, Long Qi said. Jian Wushuang nodded and did as what Long Qi had instructed to control the dark gold rod to move forward. However, even though he gave his all, the dark gold rod was still trembling in balance and traveling at an extremely slow speed. After a while, the dark gold rod only traveled forward for 100 meters and the moment it reached 100 meters, bang! The dark gold rod directly landed on the crystal ground below and made a tremendous noise. Luckily, the material of the crystal palace was unusual. Otherwise, with the weight of the dark gold rod, it could easily break the crystal ground. The further the distance of soul power, the more difficult it becomes to control it. My current limit is only to control Hong Jun divine rod to travel for 100 meters, Jian Wushuang said bitterly. 100 meters, barely. Long Qi muttered and waved his hand. Before Jian Wushuang, there was instantly a miniature gold turtle. Chapter 1677, Familiarization Training. Chapter 1677, Familiarization Training. This is. Jian Wushuang looked at the palm-sized golden dragon turtle with surprise. This is a gadget that I made. After explaining, Long Qi pointed in 4 different directions. With that, light beams rose from the 4 corners and became a seal instantly. The range that such a seal covered was not big and it could only cover less than 1/3 of the big palace that Jian Wushuang was in. At the same time, another circular seal appeared around Jian Wushuang and covered him. From today, you will stay inside this circular seal and practice manipulation of the Hong Jun divine rod. You can only leave this seal when you are able to destroy the little gadget that I have made, Long Qi said. You want me to manipulate the Hong Jun divine rod to destroy this small dragon turtle? Jian Wushuang was stunned. However, he understood in the next moment that Long Qi wanted him to practice the control of the Long Jun divine rod so that he would become more proficient in it. With a wave of Long Qi's hands, the Hong Jun divine rod flew in front of Jian Wushuang. You may begin. After speaking, Long Qi disappeared. In the whole palace, only Jian Wushuang and the palm-sized golden dragon turtle remained. However, they were within 2 different seals. Let me have a try. Although Jian Wushuang did not understand Long Qi's intentions, he still followed Long Qi's instructions and started to practice using the Hong Jun divine rod. Thus under the control of Jian Wushuang's soul power, the tottering Hong Jun divine rod started to move. However, its speed of movement was so slow that it was pathetic. When Jian Wushuang finally managed to control the Hong Jun divine rod to move behind the golden dragon turtle, the golden dragon turtle realized its presence. Upon realizing the Hong Jun divine rod's presence, its 4 legs moved at the same time and it moved more than 200 meters away instantly. This speed, Jian Wushuang opened his eyes wide. the speed of the golden dragon turtle was not very fast. At the very least, it was considered very slow in Jian Wushuang's eyes. If not for Jian Wushuang being unable to leave the circular seal around him, he would be able to catch the golden dragon turtle easily by taking one step. However, no matter how slow the golden dragon turtle's speed was, it was still a lot faster than the Hongjun Divine Rod's movement, which was controlled by Jian Wushuang's soul power. It was at least 10 times faster. I should take it slow. I have only just begun to control the Hongjun Divine Rod and I am not proficient in it. As such, its speed is slow. After I have become proficient in controlling it, its speed will definitely rise. In addition, the heavy weight of the Hongjun Divine Rod will serve as training for my soul power. As long as my soul power becomes more powerful, it will naturally become easier for me to control the Hongjun Divine Rod. Jian Wushuang was not discouraged. Instead, he continued to familiarize himself with controlling the Hongjun Divine Rod. The fact was indeed as Jian Wushuang had expected. At the start, it was indeed very difficult for him to control the Hongjun Divine Rod. The speed of movement of the Hongjun Divine Rod was extremely slow and the Hongjun Divine Rod also shook while moving. However, as Jian Wushuang continued to practice controlling the Hongjun Divine Rod, he became more proficient in it. At the very least, the Hongjun Divine Rod was stable when it was moving. Next, Jian Wushuang needed to think of a way to increase the speed of movement of the Hongjun Divine Rod. Time passed. Jian Wushuang stayed within the big palace and practiced controlling the Hongjun Divine Rod repeatedly. As he practiced controlling, he gradually got used to the weight of the Hongjun Divine Rod. Putting it another way, it could also be said that his soul power had increased under the heavy pressure of the Hongjun Divine Rod. In just a short 3 years' time, Jian Wushuang could control the Hongjun Divine Rod stably. After that, another 11 years passed. In addition to the 3 years that he had used back then, he had used a total of 14 years. Within the big palace, swoosh. The golden dragon turtle's 4 legs were crawling madly and it was moving around the 1,000-meter range that the seal covered. Moreover, a long, dark golden tail was following behind the golden dragon turtle and it was moving at a slightly faster speed. Although the speed was only a slight bit faster, that was not even worth mentioning, it still closed the distance between the two of them. Finally. Be destroyed. After a cry from Jian Wushuang, the dark golden Hongjun Divine Rod finally caught up with the golden dragon turtle and it smashed the golden dragon turtle into pieces straight away. I have succeeded. Jian Wushuang's eyes brightened up and his face was filled with happiness. Buzz Longqi's body appeared beside him quickly. After taking a glance at the golden dragon turtle which had been destroyed, he nodded his head. You have only used 14 years to achieve this stage. You are not too bad. After hearing what was said, Jian Wushuang gasped. Although it was only 14 years, he was certain how difficult the process had been during the 14 years. As the Hongjun Divine Rod was too heavy, it gave him a lot of pain when it exerted its pressure on his soul power. At present, Jian Wushuang still felt that it was a bit taxing on him to control the Hongjun Divine Rod. Lord Longqi, why did you make me familiarize myself with controlling the Hongjun Divine Rod for the past 14 years? Could it be that you wish for me to control the Hongjun Divine Rod to kill my foes in the future? Wouldn't that be too difficult for me? Jian Wushuang questioned with a frown. The Hongjun Divine Rod was special. Jian Wushuang could also feel that the power of the Hongjun Divine Rod was frightening. However, it was really too heavy. Although Jian Wushuang had familiarized himself with controlling the Hongjun Divine Rod for 14 years with great concentration, he could only barely control the Hongjun Divine Rod to catch up with the golden dragon turtle. However, the speed of movement of the Hongjun Divine Rod was still extremely slow to the point that it was equivalent to a snail in the eyes of universe gods. Even though such an attack technique had shocking power, it would still be useless as its speed was too slow and it would be impossible to even touch the enemies. Even if my soul power were to make a huge breakthrough in the future to achieve the level of an almighty, I would probably still be unable to control the Hongjun divine rod to fight, Jian Wushuang said. Long Qi naturally understood Jian Wushuang. With a wave of his hands, he kept the Hongjun divine rod and his eyes looked down at Jian Wushuang. I merely lent you the Hongjun divine rod for you to familiarize yourself with controlling it. As for what I really want to give you, it's this. With a flip of his hands, a sword-type weapon which had an extremely peculiar shape appeared in front of Jian Wushuang at once. A sword? Jian Wushuang's eyes moved. What Long Qi had taken out was indeed a sword. However, the sword was strange. The whole sword was completely gold in color and its length was 4 Chinese feet. However, the most important thing was that there was no handle. That's right. The sword only had a sword blade and no sword handle. Its 2 ends were extremely sharp and their edges were glowing with a cold light. Similarly, the blade of the sword was very thin, just like the Hongjun divine rod from before. This is the Hongjun golden sword. Of course, it is only an imitation. As for its use, it is similar to the Hongjun divine rod. Since you have already learned how to control the Hongjun divine rod, you can now try to control the Hongjun golden sword. Long Qi tossed the Hongjun golden sword toward Jian Wushuang. With the experience of catching the Hongjun divine rod from before, Jian Wushuang had learned to be smart and he caught the Hongjun golden sword with both his hands at the same time. However, when he caught the Hongjun golden sword, his expression changed. Chapter 1678, Hongjun Golden Sword. Chapter 1678, Hongjun Golden Sword. Hongjun Golden Sword is so light. Jian Wushuang carried Hongjun Golden Sword with one hand. Although he found it heavy, it was so vastly different compared to Hongjun divine rod. Then, he immediately drove his soul power to cover Hongjun Golden Sword and controlled it like he controlled Hongjun divine rod. In the end, Hongjun Golden Sword instantly turned into a ray of golden light and flew out. Its speed was 12 times faster than Hongjun divine rod. This, Jian Wushuang was shocked. Hongjun Golden Sword is similar to Hongjun divine rod. Although they are divine weapons that are driven with soul power, the difference is that Hongjun divine rod focuses on momentum and focuses on power. Hence, it is very heavy and it is very difficult to control. On the other hand, Hongjun Golden Sword leans towards speed and sharpness. It relies on the sword blade and the tip of the sword to kill your opponent. As a result, the weight is naturally much lighter and much easier to control. Long Qi looked at Jian Wushuang. Previously, I let you get used to controlling Hongjun divine rod for you to familiarize yourself with the manipulation method of soul power, also to enhance your soul strength. You familiarized and controlled it for 14 years, and you can barely control Hongjun divine rod. Hence, it is naturally much easier to control Hongjun Golden Sword. I see. Jian Wushuang understood. It was true. If Long Qi were to pass him Hongjun Golden Sword right at the beginning, he could familiarize himself with it, but due to the difference in weight, he definitely wouldn't feel as significantly at ease when he was controlling Hongjun Golden Sword after 14 years of familiarizing himself with it and controlling it. Yes, he was at ease. Just like when a commoner carried stones. At first, he would be carrying a few hundred jin stone and he would get used to the weight. One day, if he suddenly went to carry a dozen jin stone, he would naturally feel at ease. Jian Wushuang was in that situation. Besides, the way you control Hongjun Golden Sword is merely the simplest soul control, but Hongjun Golden Sword is performed via soul power in collaboration with power of Heaven Wei. Long Qi took out a token backhandedly. In this token, it recorded Hongjun Golden Sword's first form of skill. Read it carefully. Jian Wushuang took the token and started browsing through. As he read, his pupils contracted in shock. Spacetime. Hongjun Golden Sword is performed using spacetime power. Jian Wushuang couldn't help but revealed a thrilled expression. Yes, Hong Jun Golden Sword was performed via soul power in flawless collaboration with space-time doctrine. It was mainly focusing on space-time power, and soul power was only a means to control it. Besides, not only space-time doctrine, but also reincarnation doctrine that Jian Wushuang comprehended could also be merged into Hong Jun Golden Sword to enhance the power of Hong Jun Golden Sword. The skill recorded in the token was the method to perform Hong Jun Golden Sword perfectly. With my current soul strength, relying on merely soul to drive Hong Jun Golden Sword, the speed isn't fast. However, with this skill to merge space-time power flawlessly into Hong Jun Golden Sword, Jian Wushuang was getting excited from the thought of it. The first form of Hong Jun Golden Sword had a total of 9 levels. You can control an extra Hong Jun Golden Sword when you level up. So, I prepared a total of 9 Hong Jun Golden Sword for you, Long Qi said. Then he took out another 8 Hong Jun Golden Swords that looked identical. These 9 Hong Jun Golden Swords are for you. You can take your time to familiarize yourself with it and control it at your own pace. Then, Long Qi's body turned illusionary and vanished into thin air before Jian Wushuang again. Jian Wushuang put the 8 Hong Jun Golden Swords into Qian Kun ring and he was confused. He could tell that Hong Jun Golden Sword was unusual. Any one of them should be a priceless treasure, just like treasures that Jian Wushuang carried. Besides River Mountain Map, he reckoned there shouldn't be any treasure that could be compared favorably with Hong Jun Golden Sword. It was hard to even say if Blood Mountain Sword could be compared favorably. Such treasures, Long Qi took out 9 in one go and gave them to him as a gift straight away. Why was Long Qi treating him so well out of a sudden? One should know that Long Qi was very cold to him previously. He didn't even care if he was dead or alive and let him run his own course. But, he suddenly took out treasures like Hong Jun Golden Sword for him and purposely taught him how to use it. Jian Wushuang felt that he didn't do anything. He had merely broken through and become a stage 2 ultimate real god. Wasn't the change of his attitude too much? Whatever. In short, Hong Jun Golden Sword is no doubt a treasure to me. With it, my power definitely could increase by a few levels. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands. Jian Wushuang immediately started to drive Hong Jun Golden Sword according to the recorded skill. In the hall. Swoosh. A gold flowing light lit up and the very end of the void in the hall, which was at least a dozen miles away from Jian Wushuang, suddenly cracked. This speed is so fast. Although he was mentally prepared, Jian Wushuang still got a school when he saw the speed when Hong Jun Golden Sword launched. The speed was too fast. It was even faster when he gave his all to perform martial art motion. The power was also terrifyingly shocking too. It was only the first time Jian Wushuang had controlled Hong Jun Golden Sword using space-time power. Continue to familiarize. Jian Wushuang was excited and he immediately started to practice Hong Jun Golden Sword. In the hall, there were constantly gold flowing lights flashing but never the substantial form of the gold flowing light. In the blink of an eye, it had been 20 years. In 20 years, Jian Wushuang had been familiarizing himself to perform with Hong Jun Golden Sword. He practiced frequently every day. For the past 20 years, he didn't know how many times he had practiced. From the practice, the first level of Hong Jun Golden Sword in the first form, which was also the first Hong Jun Golden Sword, had finally been performed completely. His soul power, comprehension of space-time doctrine, and comprehension of reincarnation doctrine were merged into Hong Jun Golden Sword. When he wielded Hong Jun Golden Sword, it was already extremely terrifying. I have almost mastered the first Hong Jun Golden Sword, but I mostly practice alone. Next, I should bring Hong Jun Golden Sword to an actual fight, Jian Wushuang smiled. In the dark region, the opponent the Jian Wushuang want to fight against was naturally the star demons. Jian Wushuang immediately entered the Black River through the space tunnel. Then, he didn't hide in the river and massacre the star demons using River Mountain Map, but he instantly plunged from the water and landed on the shore. Back when Jian Wushuang was chased to the Black River, the number of the surrounding star demon had been terrifying. However, after Jian Wushuang's 6 massacres in the past 100 years, the remaining star demons were obviously fewer. Chapter 1679, Massacre. Chapter 1679, Massacre. Atop the Dark Land, there were a few star demons scattered about. When Jian Wushuang spread his soul power out wantonly, he only saw the existence of hundreds of star demons and there were less than 1,000 of them. In actual fact, hundreds of star demons were already a lot. However, it was still considered very few compared to the thousands of star demons which were gathered there at the very start. When Jian Wushuang appeared on the ground, the scattered star demons looked toward him immediately. Human cultivator. Kill, kill. Without hesitation, the hundreds of star demons charged toward Jian Wushuang and their violent auras rose. If it were back then when he had not made a breakthrough to stage 2 ultimate real god yet, Jian Wushuang would definitely choose to escape without hesitation if he were to see such a number of star demons charging toward him. However, at present, Jian Wushuang crossed his hands and stood at his position calmly. As he looked at the star demons which were storming toward him from all directions, he wore an indifferent smile. Buzz! A golden light floated beside Jian Wushuang. It was the Hongjun golden sword. At that moment, tens of star demons with unequal abilities appeared beside him. Let me see how strong the true power of the Hongjun golden sword is. Jian Wushuang's eyes were filled with excitement. Swish! A golden ray of light moved fiercely. Although the golden ray of light had only just appeared, it had already pierced through the bodies of tens of star demons nearby. Swish! 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 Soft sounds could be heard. As for the tens of star demons which included a 3-horned green star demon, they were killed right away without even being able to give a horrible shriek. There was no room for them to struggle. After seeing that, Jian Wushuang's eyes brightened up at once. It should be known that a 3-horned green star demon could rival a top chaotic real god of the human cultivators. However, there was also no room for it to struggle. Moreover, the most important thing was that Jian Wushuang had held back some of his divine power. I have merely used divine power that is comparable to that of a normal chaotic real god and it is similar to the time before I made a breakthrough. However, by relying on the Hongjun golden sword, I can kill green star demons instantly, Jian Wushuang murmured and he was extremely excited. Swoosh! 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 A great number of star demons besieged Jian Wushuang crazily. However, Jian Wushuang stood still and did not move at all. Just like before, he was only controlling the Hongjun golden sword. The speed of the Hongjun golden sword was exceptionally fast and it pierced through the bodies of the star demons easily. Moreover, the star demons could not even react to it. Even after some time, not even one star demon was able to get near to Jian Wushuang. As for those that came close to him, there was always a small distance between them and Jian Wushuang. Hence, they were killed by the Hongjun golden sword mercilessly. For this period of time, more than half of the hundreds of star demons had been killed by the Hongjun golden sword that was controlled by Jian Wushuang. The speed of the massacre using the Hongjun golden sword is too fast, Jian Wushuang muttered. He could only control one Hongjun golden sword nimbly. If he were to achieve the peak of the first stage of the Hongjun golden sword where he could control 9 Hongjun golden swords, he would become even more frightening during the massacre. Just then, a crimson, glittering light appeared vigorously. A crimson star demon. Jian Wushuang's eyes squinted. Under the control of his soul power, the Hongjun golden sword turned around fiercely and headed toward the crimson star demon ruthlessly like a shooting star. A crimson star demon could rival human experts who were in the real god ranking list and its ability to react was also stronger than the other star demons. When the Hongjun golden sword transformed into a golden shooting star and headed over, the Crimson Star Demon swung its sharp claws with lightning speed. When both of them clashed, the Crimson Star Demon was sent flying and it could be faintly seen that its palm was bleeding. Ha! Even by using chaotic real god-level divine power to control the Hongjun golden sword, I can still send the Crimson Star Demon flying. Jian Wushuang's laughter became louder. Next, let me try unleashing all my divine power. Jian Wushuang's eyes glowed with a shrill light and the Hongjun golden sword transformed golden shooting star was shot out again. This time round, the golden shooting star's speed and power were obviously greater than before. The Hongjun golden sword clashed with the Crimson Star Demon head-on again. Bam! A loud sound could be heard and the whole arm of the Crimson Star Demon was blown into pieces by the impact. After that, the power of the Hongjun golden sword remained unchanged and it continued to pierce the body of the Crimson Star Demon. The Crimson Star Demon was killed straight away. By controlling it with all my divine power, the Crimson Star Demon cannot even take one blow. Jian Wushuang's eyes glowed brilliantly. He could already tell back then that the Hongjun golden sword was extremely powerful and it could raise his abilities greatly. However, after mastering it for real, he knew that he was still underestimating the Hongjun golden sword. Let's continue the massacre. Jian Wushuang laughed. As the Hongjun golden sword moved around, it pierced through the bodies of the star demons easily. Even Crimson Star Demons were considered weak in front of the Hongjun golden sword. Although there were many normal three-horned star demons as well as two-horned and one-horned star demons, they were completely helpless in the face of the Hongjun golden sword's massacre. In no time, the hundreds of star demons which were near the Dark River were all massacred by Jian Wushuang and only one of them remained. The last star demon was a three-horned Crimson Star Demon. Jian Wushuang left this three-horned Crimson Star Demon to the end as he had felt something strong within its body. Jian Wushuang knew that the Blood Mountain sword that he had lost in this piece of land back then was with this three-horned Crimson Star Demon. Moreover, there was a high possibility of it being in its stomach. Star demons had always liked to eat. Moreover, they liked to eat anything. Be it human cultivators or their treasures, which included various kinds of weapons, they would be able to swallow them straight away. This was also the same for their fellow comrades. For example, during the 6 massacres by Jian Wushuang back then where he had killed a huge number of star demons, he did not manage to get many of the demon cores. However, when he came for his next massacre, those demon cores had already disappeared and it was obvious that they had been eaten by the other star demons. As for the Blood Mountain sword that Jian Wushuang had lost in the dark region, it was naturally eaten by the three-horned Crimson Star Demon in front of him. While standing in front of the three-horned Crimson Star Demon, Jian Wushuang could feel the shocking sword essence and anger from the body of the three-horned Crimson Star Demon. Die! Jian Wushuang did not hesitate and he activated the Hongjun golden sword immediately. By controlling it with his full power, the Hongjun golden sword stabbed the body of the three-horned Crimson Star Demon. The three-horned Crimson Star Demon was killed on the spot. After its body was destroyed, what appeared at the same time as its demon core was a long sword which was shaking madly and releasing an infinite amount of sword essence. The sword was Jian Wushuang's Blood Mountain sword. Little thing, please come over. With a wave of Jian Wushuang's hands, the Blood Mountain sword flew over immediately and it was caught by Jian Wushuang tightly. Chapter 1680, Leave. Chapter 1680, Leave. Oh, you even know to blame me? Jian Wushuang's smile spread wider. Blood Sword Mountain was an embryo sword and it was very intelligent. Its sword soul was exactly like a child. Previously, Jian Wushuang had no choice but to lose it in order to make an escape. In the end, it was eaten by a Crimson Star Demon. It was in the Crimson Star Demon's mouth for 100 years, so it of course was upset. Alright, I wouldn't lose you again, Jian Wushuang reassured it. As he reassured it, Jian Wushuang collected the surrounding demon cores. The massacre was the most complete massacre. The star demons surrounding the river were killed and he naturally received a lot of demon cores. After he collected them, Jian Wushuang returned to the independent space. Lord Long Qi, Jian Wushuang bowed politely and the unbelievable mountain before him. The mountain didn't move an inch, but the weird elderly with the golden tail that Long Qi had taken the form of suddenly appeared before Jian Wushuang. What's the matter? Long Qi looked at Jian Wushuang. I'm here to bid farewell to you, Lord Long Qi, Jian Wushuang said. Oh. You're ready to leave? Long Qi sounded cold as usual. Yes, Jian Wushuang smiled, thank you for taking care of me all this time, Lord Long Qi. Don't mention it. I only helped you because of your connection with 7-Star Black Sect. Long Qi waved his hand and then exhorted, Jian Wushuang, remember this. Do not reveal this place where Master is in a deep sleep after you left. It'd be best if you do not bring up whatever you come across here to another person. I do not want anyone to come and disturb Master's sleep. I will remember this, Jian Wushuang nodded solemnly, then he asked, oh yeah, regarding Hong Jun Golden Sword, according to what Lord Long Qi said, I only received the skill for the first form of Hong Jun Golden Sword. Is there a second form? A second form? Of course. However, only the real Hong Jun Golden Sword could perform it, not the 9 imitation swords that I have given to you. I do not have the real Hong Jun Golden Sword. So, even if I give you the skill of the second form, you won't be able to use it, Long Qi said. I see, Jian Wushuang understood. If so, I shall leave. Go ahead, Long Qi waved. Jian Wushuang bowed at Long Qi again. At the same time, he bowed at the lofty crystal palace as well. Then, he left through the space tunnel. When he arrived at the other end of the space tunnel, which was at the bottom of the Black River, Jian Wushuang realized that the tunnel had already vanished. Obviously, Lord Long Qi had closed the space tunnel. In the future, even Jian Wushuang might not be able to return to the independent space. The independent space belongs to the Master of Long Qi. It is where the ancient super expert is sleeping and no one knows when the superb existence is going to wake up. He might wake up very soon. But, he might not even wake up after I pass away, after the eternal chaotic world collapses and after it enters a brand new era, Jian Wushuang muttered. Regardless, I received a great opportunity in the independent space. I also found out some secrets in ancient times. I am content. In the future, unless my power reaches the level of the experts in ancient times, or I find out a method to wake the experts, I definitely will not step foot here again. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly and turned to leave. The core region of 8th layer, the dark region. The Black River that Jian Wushuang was in was actually not the deepest place in dark region. It was still considered to be the border. It wasn't far outside of the dark region. Previously, due to the hindrance of star demons, Jian Wushuang couldn't leave even though he knew the way to exit. But then, the star demons that were after Jian Wushuang were already massacred. Even if there were some remaining, none would be able to stop Jian Wushuang. On the contrary, they might be killed by Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang returned according to the route he had used to enter the dark region. He didn't run into any hindrances along the way. Very soon, Jian Wushuang walked out of the dark region. I'm finally out. Looking at the void where the black fog was obviously much thinner, Jian Wushuang stretched his body as he sighed emotionally. Real God Ziyi, I forced you into a desperate situation back then. You had no choice but to run into the dark region and explode yourself to startled star demons to come after me. Your only goal was for us to meet our deaths together. Even as an enemy, your method is simply admirable. If I were to be in the same desperate situation, I might do the same thing that you did. It's a pity that you got dealt a bad hand. Not only did you fail to bring our deaths together, you also led me to more opportunities. Speaking of which, I really have to thank you. Jian Wushuang smiled. If real God Ziyi hadn't led him to the dark region, he definitely wouldn't have broken through and become a stage 2 ultimate real god so soon, nor would he find the sleeping place of Lord Long Chi's master. Also, he wouldn't find out about 7-star Black Sect and he wouldn't have received so many opportunities. For instance, comprehension of 7-star picture and Hong Jun Golden Sword, both were great opportunities. Of course, Jian Wushuang had to thank real God Ziyi. It was a pity that real God Ziyi had died so soon. Back when real God Ziyi and I went into the dark region, real God Ziyi died and I lost contact with the lineage of Star entirely. The experts in lineage of Star must be worried sick, Jian Wushuang muttered, and he immediately took out a token. Hall Master Yuan, how do you do? Jian Wushuang reported to Hall Master Yuan about his safety. Jian Wushuang. Finally, we have news from you. I thought you died. Hall Master Yuan immediately replied and his voice couldn't conceal his excitement. Just as Jian Wushuang had expected, when Jian Wushuang and real God Ziyi lost contact with the outside world, both Lineage of Star and Soaring Heaven King Palace had been anxious. Especially Lineage of Star, they were especially anxious. After all, Jian Wushuang was the top genius in the history of Lineage of Star. As long as he didn't die, he would be at the level of real God Wu Bei at the weakest. One could well imagine his importance. As for real God Ziyi, he was merely a top chaotic real god. There were quite a few chaotic real gods like him soaring Heaven King Palace. Although there would be heartache if they lost him, it wouldn't be too huge of a loss to soaring Heaven King Palace overall. My life is tough. How can I die so easily? Jian Wushuang joked. Tell me, what happened? Where's real God Ziyi? Hall Master Yuan asked. Chapter 1681, Jian Wushuang and Soaring Heaven King Palace. Chapter 1681, Jian Wushuang and Soaring Heaven King Palace. Real God Ziyi died long ago. I killed him. However, he was pretty good. Before he died, he cornered me into a desperate situation and the space that I was in was sealed off from the outside world entirely. I couldn't send any message for you to come and rescue me, but I could rely on my own capabilities. However, I am lucky enough to be able to survive and escape from a desperate situation alive, Jian Wushuang smiled. Is that so? Hall Master Yuan creased his eyebrows. He knew Jian Wushuang's character well. If even Jian Wushuang had said it was a desperate situation, the encounter must be beyond imagination. Regardless, it's great that you managed to escape. I, and all experts from Lineage of Star, can finally let out a breath of relief, Hall Master Yuan smiled. Oh yeah, where are you exactly? Let me send the experts from Lineage of Star over immediately to escort you back. Escort? Jian Wushuang refused. There's no need. I can come back on my own. There's no need. Jian Wushuang, I'm afraid you do not know what kind of situation you are in now, Hall Master Yuan smiled faintly. Why? Jian Wushuang couldn't help but ask. 100 years ago, when you were after real God Ziyi in the core region, it spread across wildfire and it stirred a hubbub. Many higher-ups in Soaring Heaven King Palace were notified, especially when you and real God Ziyi disappeared. Soaring Heaven King Palace was furious too. They immediately sent many experts to the 8th lair to search for you and real God Ziyi. They continued to do that for 100 years and they never stopped. On the contrary, Soaring Heaven King Palace sent more and more experts. They even paid a great price to hire some top chaotic real gods. Their intentions are, firstly, they had a string of hope that real God Ziyi might not have been dead. Secondly, to kill me. Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. I'm glad you know that. From the hunt back then, real God Ziyi should be dead from the desperate situation. However, although you were lost, you were most likely not dead. Soaring Heaven King Palace has been barbaric all this while. You continuously killed 2 of their chaotic real gods, why would they let you off the hook? Hall Master Yuan smirked coldly. Hence, it's best that you find a place to hide for now and wait until the experts from Lineage of Star arrive. Over the years, we of Lineage of Star have also sent many experts to the 8th lair to look for you. Although not as many as Soaring Heaven King Palace, as long as they are with you, it shouldn't be that easy for Soaring Heaven King Palace to kill you. I see, Jian Wushuang smiled. He understood what Hall Master Yuan meant, but he replied with a smile, Hall Master Yuan, you don't have to go through the trouble. I can return on my own. Jian Wushuang, you, Hall Master Yuan was shocked. Hall Master Yuan, I have something that I have yet to tell you. During the time when I was in a desperate situation, I broke through and became an eternal real god, Jian Wushuang said. Broke through? Hall Master Yuan was surprised. He knew that it didn't take long for Jian Wushuang to break through from universe god to void real god. It was at most a few hundred years. In such a short period, he broke through from being a void real god to become an eternal real god? How did he progress so quickly? Jian Wushuang, are you really confident? Hall Master Yuan was uncertain. Of course, the current me is not someone who could be dealt with so easily, Jian Wushuang said confidently. If so, all right then. However, if you were to fight with the experts from Soaring Heaven King Palace, I would still let the surrounding experts from Lineage of Star move in your direction, Hall Master Yuan said. Sure, Jian Wushuang nodded. After texting with Hall Master Yuan, Jian Wushuang let out a breath. He suddenly looked at the end of the boundless dark void. Soaring Heaven King Palace, I hoped that you'd be wiser. Otherwise. There was boundless chill soaring in Jian Wushuang's eyes. In the boundless, dark void, there was cold aura. In a dark land, there were over 20 star demons gathered. Suddenly, there was a silver flowing light that plunged into the star demons like a bolt of lightning. Then, a massacre took place. Over 20 star demons were wiped out by the silver flowing light in an instant. The silver flowing light dispersed and revealed a cold-looking elder in silver armor. There was dim light in the cold-looking elder's eyes. He had a smile plastered across his face, but his smile was malicious. Shirgu, you are pretty carefree. You have the intention to kill these star demons. A red-robed figure appeared next to the cold-looking elder from nowhere. The red-robed figure belonged to a handsome young man. The 2 of them were top chaotic real gods. Hehe, we have been searching for more than 100 years but we have never seen real god Ziyi and Jian Wushuang. I reckon that both of them already met death together. It would be a waste of time if we continue to search for them. I might as well spend some time on hunting star demons. The demon cores are good, the cold-looking elder said. Humph, don't forget that Soaring Heaven King Palace hired you at a great price. It's not right for you to hunt star demons, the red-robed handsome man's voice was cold. Hehe, don't worry. Only hunting a few star demons won't interrupt our main goal, the elder said. The red-robed handsome man couldn't say anything more. Just then. The cold-looking elder's face suddenly grew solemn, someone's here. The red-robed handsome man immediately noticed and his eyes looked to the void afar at the first instant. There was a figure plunging over slowly. He looked handsome and extremely young. He was in crimson robe and there was a sword on his back. There was no power but he let out the aura of an expert at all times. The originally carefree cold-looking elder and the red-robed handsome man saw the incomer and their eyes dilated in shock. This outfit, this appearance. It's Jian Wushuang. It's him. Hall Master, I found Jian Wushuang. He's alive. He is near me. The red-robed handsome man immediately exclaimed in surprise. At the same time, he instantly sent a message to Soaring Heaven King Palace. We finally found him and happened to be found by us, the cold-looking elder looked delighted. Let's go. The red-robed handsome man's eyes shimmered with joy. At the very next moment, the two figures plunged out and instantly appeared in the void before Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang, who was traveling forward, could feel the two of them approaching, and he immediately stopped his steps and looked up. So fast. Jian Wushuang smirked and formed a malicious smile. Jian Wushuang, I finally found you. The red-robed handsome man and the cold-looking elder glared at Jian Wushuang, and their eyes boiled with rage. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.